What is up, everybody? This is Media Rehab. We're coming to you with a special episode. We're going to do these from time to time, just whenever something important's come up. You know, these are going to take the place of an episode, we think. We doubt it. Probably not. But as we all know, the NFL Draft is right around the corner. It's on Thursday, May 8th, and with all the speculation, all the months of preparation, it is time for the Media Rehab mock draft. I'm here with our draft experts, Matt Townsend.
Mel Kiper Jr. is a hack.
And Darren.
How's it going?
And what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to give you our first round, and then we're going to give you some guys on the back end that, you know, are some big names that we're going to try to figure out where they're going to go. Matt?
I really think that lately, with the way that the NFL's been overemphasizing coverage on all aspects of football, so you're getting the super in-depth coverage of pro days, and super in-depth coverage of the combine, and super in-depth coverage of the draft, and everybody's draft analysis, that we're getting 3 or 4 weeks of pure speculation, and like what I said, Mel Kiper Jr. is a hack.
Well, they didn't do anybody any favors by backing up the draft 2 weeks.
No, yeah, that was a bad idea.
Now, was the original reason because of they wanted to have that separation between that little mini off-season voluntary workout stuff? Because that's what Lovie Smith was saying.
No,
he liked it.
The NFL just wants to dominate all the time, and then what ends up happening...
I think that they went to go attack the NBA and the NHL playoffs by going right slap ass in the middle of their playoff and getting more ratings.
Because I do believe that Game 1 of the NBA semifinals, or the NBA conference semis, or the conference finals...
Western Conference Finals is that day.
Starts on Thursday. And
I have no idea. I shot that out of my house.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, some of those, at least in the NBA, they're still in Game 7s today, so it would not be the semi... It wouldn't be the conference yet. It would still be down to 18.
Well, they want to dominate, and they just want to take away all the steam. I mean, look at the NFL. You have the Super Bowl in February. You have free agency in March. You have mini camps in April. You got the draft in May. June is the second wave of free agency. July is training camp. August is preseason. September is regular season, all the way into February.
And now you got a 12-month
And now it's
schedule.
a 12-month cycle for the NFL. They're doing their best for global domination.
And they're doing a good job.
Still sucks.
They're doing a great job. They're still half of the ESPN coverage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, without a doubt. You could flip on ESPN any time of the day, and you'll find some kind of draft programming.
Rich Eisen already looks tired.
Oh, yeah. You see, Rich Eisen just didn't care during the schedule release show. He's just like, I'm growing a beard.
That's his new thing, and it's brilliant. I love it. I love Rich Eisen because he just doesn't give a shit.
Rich Eisen's the man. He replied to one of my tweets on Twitter one time. That was pretty cool.
That's the culmination of your life experiences.
Hashtag punters are people too.
So I guess I'll get this thing kicked off, right? So with the way I did my draft is the entire thing is based on what I think should happen. It's not based on what's going to happen or anything like that. So if something sounds weird, there's a reason behind it.
Like team needs?
It's especially team needs. It's what does this team need the most right now to be able to survive. And with the number 1 pick, I do not think Houston trades out, and there's only one choice you take with your number 1 pick. They take Jadeveon Clowney from South Carolina to run on the opposite side of J.J. Watt, and they go and kick Andy Luck's ass all season. And that's my thinking. Jadeveon Clowney's a really strong, really talented defensive player. He's the kind of guy that you can put into a defense almost immediately without having much problems. The only thing that I have a problem with Jadeveon Clowney is that he was in that Marcus Lattimore incident where he saw that ACL injury. And so he seems, especially last season, he seems a little gun-shy. I would like to see him come out, and he did really well in his combine. And I think he's gonna come out and really put us all in our places because he was just waiting to get to this point, and now he's gonna go out there and explode. When you're talking about a defensive line that incorporates J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney, how are you gonna stop that?
Well, don't forget about Brian Cushing coming from that Mike linebacker spot.
He's injury prone, so you can't really guarantee that he's gonna be there. But you're telling me that you got 2 very young, very strong, very talented defensive talents going right after the quarterback from either side. It's a dangerous thing, and that's something that can make you a Super Bowl contender immediately. And you can go and pick up a quarterback in the second round because quarterbacks are abundant in this draft, and it's a roll of the dice of whoever you take. What do you think, Darren?
Well, I mean, I agree with your assessment on Clowney that he was probably just holding back because he didn't want to get hurt prior to getting to the draft, getting drafted, and getting his money. But I do not agree with that he's the number 1 pick.
Okay.
I do believe they're going to go defense, and pairing with J.J. Watt to go after Andrew Luck is definitely a smart move. But I think you're going to get a guy that has equal talent, but none of the bullshit that might come with Clowney and all his off-the-field stuff, Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack, the defensive lineman / linebacker from Buffalo, a real dark horse candidate. He went from being a mid-first rounder towards the end of the college football season to ascending to potentially the number 1 pick. It's a great pickup for them.
I really like Khalil Mack. He's fast, he's strong, he's pro-ready. You can plug him in immediately, but I do not think that with a number 1 pick you take anyone but Jadeveon Clowney. And if you're not going to take Jadeveon Clowney, trade out.
I agree with you. You could probably do that, but I don't think they're going to get enough in return for a trade, and I just think that Mack would fit better.
It's been out there. You're not the only person saying that. It's a good choice. What about you, Cam?
Well, my pick is in, and with the first overall pick, the Houston Texans select Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end from South Carolina. It's a no-brainer. He's been the projected number 1 overall pick since he was a senior in high school. The guy's an athletic freak. He has the potential to be a once-in-a-generation player. The way that Reggie White redefined the position, Jadeveon Clowney can do that, provided that his work ethic and his ability steps up. I don't want to see the guy his senior year at South Carolina, or last year at South Carolina. I want to see the guy that was decleating the Michigan running back in the Outback Bowl. And
blowing helmets off and just going crazy.
The one thing that really does alarm me, though, is that anytime that he sees an injury, he starts woeing up on it. He starts slowing, hitting the brakes. Marcus Lattimore, like Matt had referenced, and then it was an offensive lineman for Clemson, tore his ACL in a private workout with the Saints. And then all of a sudden, Jadeveon Clowney comes out and says, yeah, I'm not doing private workouts anymore.
I think that Jadeveon Clowney has an issue with injury and worrisome woes, and I think it's going to take the right coach to kind of get him out of that mind frame and good teammates to do that. And I think pairing him up with a Brian Cushing or a J.J. Watt off the field is going to be something to help mentor him into the position where it's like, listen, man, these injuries happen, but it's not like college where if you get hurt, you're just out on the streets. We have doctors, the best doctors. We take care of you, and it's our job to get you back on the field as soon as possible.
Plus, you're sending him to Houston, and there's not much to do there. So it's not like he'll go out drinking every night and pop a DUI. He's already got a couple of speeding tickets.
Yeah.
If that's the worst thing he does, he's still not Aldon Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still think that he was just being tentative because he wanted to at least get what he thought was going to be in the top 3 picks worth of money. And I think once he gets that guaranteed money with that deal, then he's probably going to play back to that.
Here's the thing, though.
Year.
The money isn't the same as it was when he was a senior in high school.
No, it's not anymore.
So the fear for me is that he's going to perform at a very high level for 4 or 5 years. But once he gets that Hainsworth contract,
yeah, he's going to.
I have a feeling that he's going to start playing like Albert Hainsworth and just not show up at all. And that's the biggest thing. He comes from a poverty-stricken family. It's all over ESPN, so there's no assumptions being made here. And that's the one fear with Jadeveon Clowney, but it's a fear with everybody. Money changes everybody.
Has that, yeah. Yes. I do say that Jadeveon Clowney is clearly a great choice at number 1. Khalil Mack's not a bad choice. I just don't think he's a number 1 pick. But number 2 overall, Rams are picking. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to have our first trade of the draft. I believe the Falcons will trade up with the Rams. It's going to be the 6th pick for the Falcons, so the Rams are going to move back and then, whatever else they're going to put into the deal. But with the 2nd pick, I do believe that the Falcons will take Jadeveon Clowney.
Okay. I mean,
it's an excellent pick. They've been projected to trade up to number 1 to get Jadeveon Clowney most offseason. And if anybody has shown no aversion to trading away draft picks, and that's Thomas Dimitroff over there in Atlanta. He gave up, 5 picks to move up and get Julio Jones?
They'll move the boat. They'll move the whole house. They'll sell everything. They'll pawn the quarterback if it means getting the guy that they want in the
Arthur
draft.
Blank's in a win-now mode.
Oh, exactly. I mean, 2 years ago, they were in the NFC Championship game, and, maybe a guy like Clowney could have been the thing that got them over the hump. So,
without a doubt, getting pressure on a quarterback would have gotten them over the hump.
What do you think, Ken?
Okay, I have my first trade of the draft. And what I've got going on is I have the Cleveland Browns trading the number 4 pick to St. Louis along with a number 2 and a 5th rounder. and they're going to trade up and they're going to take Sammy Watkins, the wide receiver from Clemson.
That's a pretty good idea right there. I really like that move. Sammy Watkins is he's the best wide receiver in the draft this year. He comes from Clemson. He's got a decent quarterback throwing to him, but not a great quarterback. So you're talking about a guy who's rangy, long, can get up there, snatch the ball out of the air, and you're pairing him up and just kind of letting him go loose. And so you're really enhancing your offense.
And pretty much right now, the Cleveland Browns aren't in a situation where it's like, oh, well, a linebacker's going to put us over the hump. Oh, well, we need to take a quarterback here right now. As we've all said before, the quarterback class is extremely deep in this draft. And, to get a dynamic playmaker like Watkins to go with Josh Gordon and Jordan Cameron.
You now have an all-pro wide receiver core.
And you have another first-round pick.
Yes. And a halfway decent offensive line.
Yeah, and the defense doesn't really need too much retooling. I mean, they did Dante Whitner and whoever they brought in a couple of free agents on the defensive side of the ball. So this is going to be an all offense draft for them. They're going to try to build something that's going to last.
Well, did they replace T.J. Ward?
Yes, Dante Whitner.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I don't think that St. Louis trades their pick. I think they stay at number 2, and I think that they haven't given up on Sam Bradford yet. The problem with Sam Bradford is that he has no protection. So with the second pick in the NFL draft, I have Greg Robinson, offensive tackle from Auburn, going. He's the top run blocker in the draft right now. He's a guy who can go out there immediately and make a difference. You can plug him into the system and he can work. He doesn't have a whole lot of hiccups or hitches in his giddy up. I think that's the pick that they're going to make because they have a whole nother pick coming in the first round.
It's a very good selection. The one thing that does concern me about Greg Robinson, he came from a primarily run-based offense in Auburn in the SEC. So I don't know what his pass blocking ability is. And it's not like St. Louis currently has Steven Jackson in the backfield. They have Zach Stacy and they have Isaiah Peed. And, so they're kind of, oh no, they got Chris Johnson. Mm-hmm. They did get Chris Johnson. So there's the potential there. I mean, there's going to be a running back rotation.
They're going to do a running back by committee, but the thing is that he's strong and he's athletic. So you're playing him on the right side, and he's going to go out there, and you now have the availability to do those dump-off shuttle passes or to do those quick options or something like that because you have a big, strong guy sitting there, and you have somebody now that you're going to invest in the future. This is a guy that you pick up to try to make a St. Louis Ram for life.
Would you say he's a franchise left tackle?
He could be, but you can never say that a guy is franchised before he goes into before he actually shows himself in his first 2 seasons. Once he gets past sophomore, then you declare your franchise guys. But as of right now, he's your plug-in starter.
I'll bring back to mind Robert Gallery.
But he was a guard that they tried to make a tackle, and he came from a primary run-first offense.
It's very hard.
Didn't have a running game.
But I mean, everybody was going nuts over him, and I even wanted the Giants to take him over any of the quarterbacks, and thankfully we didn't do that.
I mean, they also made a big deal. Who was that just athletic freak that ended up falling in the first round to Green Bay?
The same year?
It was a long time ago.
Tony Mandarich.
Yeah, Mandarich.
Yeah.
Robert Gallery reminded me of Mandarich back then.
They made many comparisons since.
A lot of people don't think about how hard it is to play offensive line. It is easily one of the most difficult positions to play in the NFL, and it's the only position that every time you go to play, every time the ball snaps, you're battling some other dude at least 4 downs every play.
And you're almost always, unless it's a running play, back on your heels.
And if you're switching from guard to tackle, you have to learn a whole new blocking scheme. Mm-hmm. And that's every play in the playbook, what your blocking scheme is supposed to be. It's complicated. It's not easy.
You're responsible for the premier edge rushers in the NFL, especially at the time with Robert Gallery, was the AFC West.
Yep.
And I mean, we all remember what they had out there. It was disgusting.
That's what I used to hate the most, is being the biggest kid in school. I always got put on the line. I was like, at least make me defense so I can at least get after the quarterback.
Yeah, defense is way more fun.
No, you're an offensive lineman, and you got to remember all the plays. Oh, do I pull on this one?
It's like, where's the hole supposed to pop through? Am I the guy who's supposed to be? Am I supposed to move up? But yeah, so the number 3 pick, Cameron.
With the 3rd overall pick in the draft, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars maintaining their position, and they will take Khalil Mack from Buffalo. Gus Bradley, defensive-minded head coach, former defensive coordinator in Seattle 2 years ago. They're trying to build something staunch, especially in a division with Andrew Luck and poor quarterback play.
Yeah.
Defense wins championships. That's how Bradley has learned, and that's how Bradley's going to try to do it in Jacksonville. I have every faith in the world they're going to go with Khalil Mack if he's on the board.
Here's my thing in Jacksonville. Jacksonville has one problem in particular that nobody ever talks about.
They live in Jacksonville?
Attendance. Nobody ever goes to Jacksonville games. Okay? And they also have another glaring weakness that they have. So with my third pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I have them taking Johnny Manziel, quarterback, Texas A&M. Johnny's the guy that everyone's talking about. He's the most talked about guy in the draft. He's a guy who showed up on Gruden quarterback camp and wowed everybody. He shows up on his pro day and wows everybody. He runs a great run at the combine. He scores a 32 on the Wonderlic, so he scored higher than anybody thought he would. Okay, he's a guy that you can plug in immediately into your system. He's going to get his ass kicked, but what's going to happen is you're going to put asses in the seats and sell season tickets.
I think Johnny Manziel is currently suffering from the Tebow effect.
I was just going to bring that up.
Everybody's just kind of getting tired of hearing about him because if it wasn't college football season, you were hearing about Johnny Manziel partying. And during college football season, you heard about the autographs. And that Jacksonville organization actually shied away from signing Tim Tebow because they just didn't want the headache.
I mean, they didn't draft him, and then when he was a free agent, they didn't sign him.
Yeah.
Check this out. You haven't heard his name detrimentally in 6 months.
No, you haven't.
But you don't really even hear him at all.
Yeah, because he's staying quiet on purpose. He's showing you that he's matured and that he's ready to play NFL football. College is college. You go to college to be Blue Mountain State. You go to college to have fun and have a blast, and he did. And he did awesome things at Texas A&M. But right now, he's ready to be a pro quarterback, and he's ready to start right now. You do not draft Johnny Manziel and sit him behind somebody.
Here's the thing. You can give him a designated driver in Justin Blackman.
Yeah, that's a really bad idea. But I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars already have a pretty dynamic defense, and I think that they're already like a really underrated defense that's coming out and surprising people. And the missing cog that they have right now is that they do have some wide receivers that can throw to. They had a running back that was decent. They just need to kind of work on that. And it's possible.
They got the great white hope, Toby Gerhardt, right now.
I don't know if Toby Gerhardt's going to be able to come through and really pop because he's been sitting behind Adrian Peterson, sitting on his heels for so long. And when he did get his opportunities in Minnesota, they were underwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah, but now he's actually going to have a chance to be a starter. So
you're going to give that dude 32 touches?
No, because I think the NFL is moving towards multiple running backs for every team, just about.
So who's
anyway.
number 2?
What's his name?
No, that's a tight end.
No, not Rashad Jennings.
No, because he's on the Giants.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is that you get that quarterback and then you plug him and you get asses in the seats and you fix a problem with attendance.
Running back is very plentiful in this draft later on. You know, guys like Devontae Freeman, Bishop Sankey.
You have to take those guys later because you have to take need position now. And it's deep. It's a deep draft. This is probably one of the best drafts we've had in a long time. And not everybody's going to work out, but it's the best hopeful draft that we've had in a long time.
Oh, yeah, this is incredibly deep.
Darren?
So, Darren?
I agree that they're going to go with quarterback, but I don't think it's going to be Manziel. I think they're going to take Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles, quarterback, Central Florida.
Yes, I think he'll fit their style much better, and I think who's the coach now?
Their style is run for your life and just throw it deep.
Who's the head coach now that's over there? I think right in a similar style offense to what Bortles was running at UCF.
Yeah, Gus Bradley.
Yeah.
Well, he's defense, but the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, the coordinator. It's like the similar
I think
offense.
he's a direct disciple of George O'Leary.
Yeah.
The same way that Bill O'Brien was.
Okay. I remember when I was doing some research that they were saying that, and he can just literally walk in, and almost all the terminology is very similar, and he can just plug right in.
Here's my thing. What is the one name of current acting quarterbacks right now that you associate when you think Blake Bortles?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
He's Ben Roethlisberger Jr. The only difference is I think he's smarter, and he can make better throws. The only problem I have with Blake Bortles is,
he's boring. Could not watch the quarterback camp with him. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I could see Jacksonville using that to try to expand their fan base. Orlando's not too far away from there.
No.
And so now you're dipping into the Orlando market with the UCF faithful. And just like any other person who goes to a Florida college, chances are they don't leave this state after they graduate.
Yeah.
So,
but you're talking about needing a mobile quarterback. Would you rather have somebody lumbering around the field, or would you have somebody making an option play really quick and then taking a dive across the sideline?
Yeah, I would like the option play. The NFL's going to more of a mobile quarterback.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's a bad pick. I think that's a great pick, and it's a great reason why that pick goes there. And it's actually really intelligent. I'm just saying that I think Johnny Manziel is the guy that would be more mobile. If you're looking for your mobile quarterback, you take a quarterback who's got the ability to put asses in the seats, who's showing a regression in his shitty behavior, and also can give you that mobility.
This is my problem with Blake Bortles. He is a project. It's not everything is fully refined in his game yet. And I'll just make this point very, very shortly. He needs to go to a fan base that will have a little bit of patience, and he needs to have a good supporting cast in that offense to help take the load off of him. He can't go in to be a franchise savior because he's not that just yet. He's a year-and-a-half wonder who just so happened to get his name out there by beating a Big 12 school in a bowl game.
Yeah.
So, with that, Matt, fourth pick in the mock draft?
Fourth pick, Cleveland Browns. I have them taking Sammy Watkins, wide receiver, Clemson, for one reason alone. 4.3440. And the ability to snatch balls out of the air. It's already been discussed. I don't think there's much more to say about it, but I think the Cleveland Browns have Sammy Watkins in their sights. And if they think that he has a chance in going before that, they'll try to move up.
What helps a fringe quarterback? Great receivers.
It's the Kurt Warner effect, okay? You can put me at quarterback with 4 all-pro wide receivers, a great running back, and an all-pro line, and I'll win you a Super Bowl. They have a decent running back sitting behind them that then nobody's really talking about. He doesn't really do a lot, but he can do enough to get you third down percentages and things like that. So now you're talking about stretching people away from the other receivers, now you have 2 dynamic threats on that offense. I think that's the smartest choice that they can make in that position. Darren?
I think the Browns are going to take Johnny Manziel from Texas A&M.
It's possible. They've actually talked about moving up to get him.
They've been linked to him the entire offseason.
I just think that, that like you were saying, much like for the Jaguars, everything that you were saying, I think exactly fits for the Browns.
The only problem I have with the Cleveland Browns and quarterbacks is that Cleveland is where good quarterbacks go to die. I don't think that any quarterback is going to flourish in their system.
What was the last good quarterback in Cleveland?
Do you count Derek Anderson as being good?
I don't count Derek Anderson.
Jake Delhomme?
No, before that.
Here's the thing, Couch.
It goes a long way.
Cleveland.
You might have to go back to Bernie Kosar.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say, Bernie Kosar. I couldn't remember his name. He was that irrelevant to us now.
You have a very deep quarterback draft this year, so I think you need to take BPA at wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns and then get you an A.J. McCarron or a Zach Mettenberger or something like that in later picks. I think that's the best choice for them right now.
All right, and with my fourth pick in the first round of the 2014 draft, remember, we have the trade. St. Louis is sitting in that fourth pick right now. I have them selecting Jake Matthews, offensive lineman from Texas A&M. Question, who is Jake Matthews' father?
Clay Matthews?
No, Bruce Matthews.
That's what, yeah.
Bruce Matthews.
That's what I meant.
Franchise left tackle for what team?
Houston Oilers.
Which became?
The Titans.
How long? Who was the coach for the Tennessee Titans?
It was Mike Munchak.
Jeff Fisher.
It's Jeff Fisher, and Jeff Fisher is now running the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes so much sense, and Jake Matthews is already projecting better than his father. He moves better than his father. He blocks better than his father. It's a no-brainer to be in this kind of situation right now.
Jake Matthews is the safest possible O-line pick that you can pick right now to plug into your system. He's already used to protecting a quarterback where you have no idea where the fuck he's going to go. He's got good strength, good size, good ability. He's not exceptional, but he's safe. And he's a safe, good pick at that position.
And at this point, the St. Louis Rams, yes, they do have an abundance of picks, but they all need to hit. Otherwise, what did you do? You traded with the Redskins for nothing. And it seems like they've hit on Robert Quinn. It seems like they hit on
Robert Quinn is awesome. I want him on my team right now.
It seems like they're hitting on everything. It's a true testament to the scouting department. But you need to keep hitting on this. You need to not take a risk on, like an Anthony Barr or Khalil Mack if he's available or anything like that. You need to go with the safe pick. And right now, the safe pick is Jake Matthews. He's a good run blocker, pass blocker.
I agree.
Not bad.
So that goes to the 5th pick.
Yep. The Raiders.
Yes, sir.
Well, this pick would make Andrew the Walrus Wallagoria very happy, because I believe the Raiders will select Taylor Lewan. Offensive tackle from Michigan.
He did great in the combine. The only problem I have with him is that he's emotional and inconsistent. He does have the ability to be a great offensive lineman. The problem is that he kind of fucks up sometimes, and that he kind of lets people through. And there's a few Michigan quarterbacks who have a couple of ass beatings to show for that. I mean, I'm not going to say any names, but he should tie his fucking shoes.
Well, I mean, I was originally toying with the idea that
Get away from
Raiders would be picking a quarterback here, but then they got what's his name, Matt Schaub in the offseason, so I figured they're going to go with like another project later on for quarterback and not take one of the top guys.
And here's what you do: is you plug in Luan at left tackle, Donald Penn in at right tackle. Yep. You've shored up your passing until Donald Penn gains 25 pounds between July and September. And then you give Schaub enough time to throw to James Jones, to throw to all the different additions that they have there. It's a good, smart pick for an Oakland team that hasn't done a lot of intelligent things lately.
Not since 2002.
They've been making some pretty incredible moves in the offseason. I mean, it's not going to help, but they're making moves at least. They're making differences. Yeah,
Justin Tuck. I mean, that's a very good pick in 2009.
They're really doing a good job at trying to pull the nose up on that ship, and they're doing everything they possibly can to not suck anymore in a division that it's going to be very difficult to not just suck.
Yep. You got the Chiefs that they're up and coming now, and obviously the Broncos, and it's always the Chargers that seem to hang around. They're always like 8-8, 9-7, whatever, and they're just always floating there. And I know who they pick up for running back. Chargers.
Maurice Jones-Drew. Oh, the Chargers?
Yeah.
No, they've stuck with Ryan Matthews and Danny Woodhead.
Boom. No, I'm pretty sure they picked up another guy.
Not that I know of.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
Should have made cliff notes, bro.
I'm sorry. I'm independent. I misremembered.
It actually brings me to my 5th pick. The Oakland Raiders maintain the position. They take Greg Robinson, offensive tackle from Auburn. Great run blocker. Guess what? Maurice Jones-Drew.
Not to mention
Darren McFadden.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's that.
Yeah, they have a platoon of subpar running backs.
You've got Marcel Reese at fullback, and you've got. I mean, that run game is going to be bolstered by the pick of Greg Robinson, and it's kind of amazing that Greg Robinson goes from being the first offensive lineman taken off the board in most drafts to, in some cases, being the third offensive lineman taken.
It's very possible to be the third guy on that draft board. I have the Oakland Raiders taking Khalil Mack. I think they're going to go for that big defense wins championships. Let's get the defense right now. They've been moving a lot of pieces to make a better defense. I think that they're going out there to shut down offenses. And Khalil Mack, for the exact same reasons that you could contend Jadeveon Clowney with him, is the reason why he works in that system. Plus, they need that linebacker.
Well, just look at the division. What do you got? You got Alex Smith, you got Phillip Rivers, and you got Peyton fucking Manning.
No.
So building a staunch defense that can get some pressure on the quarterback is the exact formula to help win in the AFC West. Not saying it's going to happen in the next 2 years.
No.
3 years from now, this Oakland team might actually be pretty dangerous.
Force that triple step. Force that ball pat. Force that crazy look around. You have the ability to put pressure on a quarterback with a good linebacker that can really make a difference in the system. So, 6.
All right. With the 6th pick, I have another trade. I've got the Minnesota Vikings moving up from 8. They're going to give up a 4th and a 7th round draft pick. And they're going to trade ahead to get Blake Bortles. For the exact reason I said before with Blake Bortles. It's a fan base that's going to have patience because you've got Cordarrelle Patterson there to provide some excitement. You've got Adrian Peterson, Kyle Rudolph. They can roll with Christian Ponder if they really want to, but if Blake Bortles comes in and plays how Ryan Tannehill did in his rookie year, they'll consider it a godsend. So they're not going to boo him out of the building if he throws one interception.
I think giving up a 2 and a 4 to move up to that position is. I'm sorry, did you say 1 and 4 or 2 and 4?
No, I said 4 and a 6.
4 and a 6 plus the pick.
Plus the pick, just to move up 2 spots.
I think that's a mistake because I think that the spacing in between Minnesota and Atlanta isn't that much. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think that you could sit back in that position and wait to take a Blake Bortles.
But they know that Tampa is a quarterback-needy team. Well, they're quarterback-needy in a sense.
They have a couple of very desperate needs.
They're quarterback-needy in a sense, but they can afford to take a guy like Blake Bortles if he falls to them, and they can sit on him for a year while Josh McCown goes out and does what Josh McCown does.
Plus, like you were saying, for Jacksonville, Tampa's close to Orlando as well.
Mm-hmm. And then you're trying to expand your fan base.
I have my number 6 for the Atlanta Falcons is Taylor Lewan, and the reason I say that is because Matt Ryan has a very big problem because you did the Charger thing and it fucked me all up. Matt Ryan has an issue where if anybody puts even the least amount of pressure on him, he starts to just fall apart, and he devolves very quickly, and it's really hard to get Matt Ryan back on the rails. But he had a tight end. He still has Julio Jones. He still has Roddy White. He still has weapons that he can use. They have a decent running back situation going on in there. I think that the missing cog right now is somebody to watch his ass, and I think Taylor Lewan, even though he's got his issues, could fit really well in that Atlanta system with a quarterback who can keep everybody kind of calm and blasé.
Oh, absolutely. Taylor Lewan is freakishly athletic, and when your guards are allowing interior lineman pressure, you need a guy on the outside that can come in and just try to chip a defensive tackle before it just eats Matt Ryan's face.
Well, with the 6th pick, if you remember earlier, I had them trading with the Rams, so this is now the Rams pick, and I have them taking Sammy Watkins, pairing him up with the rest of the offense they have set up over there, because I still believe that they're going to still stick with Sam Bradford for at least, he has like 1 or 2 more seasons left on that contract? 1.
Yeah.
And I think they can pick up somebody worthwhile in the 2nd round for quarterback.
Absolutely. I think there's going to be a lot of people hunting down these quarterbacks that are going to slip through the cracks. I just, with the Rams and taking Sammy Watkins, I just don't think that's their BPA right now. I don't think that's that's their best need at that position. I think it's a good choice because you're putting him in charge of the offense, but you're going right back to doing exactly what you did last season. And you're gonna roll that dice again, seeing how well that went for you. The only reason St. Louis was even mentionable last year was because that defense with Robert Quinn, with Laurinaitis coming out there and making big time plays. I think that's the only reason we're talking about them.
Well, and I can agree with your pick of Sammy Watkins. I just don't think he's going to make it that far. No, Sammy Watkins is a brilliant pick for St. Louis because either you're rolling with Bradford or you're drafting a younger guy in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round that you can groom behind Bradford, and just see how the season plays out. But right now, their wide receivers are Numbnuts, Jackass, and Tavon Austin.
He disappointed me in fantasy.
I mean, to bolster that wide receiving core with Sammy Watkins, if they were able to trade back and still be able to get him, that's a win.
You might as well stay at number 2 and take him, if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, it better be some kind of a sweet pot, and you better hope that Detroit doesn't get up in front of you.
They'd have to give up the boat to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So, that brings us to 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in desperate need of a number 2. They need a quarterback. They need some help in the defense. They need some help on the offensive line. They need a lot of things to be really awesome right now. But I think the best choice for them right now is Mike Evans, wide receiver, Texas A&M. He's a ready wideout. He can box people out, and he's ready to play. He's a playmaker. He can go out there and snatch balls out. I think that's the 2nd best wide receiver in the draft right now.
I mean, I was going back and forth, and eventually I settled on Mike Evans to pair with Vincent Jackson because, like you were saying, you got Josh McCown for now, and then maybe they pick up somebody later. I mean, I was tempted to go with Bridgewater as their pick, but eventually I just think that the wide receiver, which was so lacking behind Jackson last year, is probably killed Josh Freeman's career. And
when Williams went down and they were using basically the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to fill out the wide receiver posts.
Don't say the name Tyquan Underwood to me. It makes me cry.
Chris Owusu,
Eric Page.
Can't play.
Right.
Well, and that was Shiano trying to rush Williams back from the injury he suffered in training camp, and it just made it worse. So,
one of the worst coaches in NFL history.
Good riddance. All right, that brings it to me. 7th overall pick, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Select Johnny Manziel, quarterback, Texas A&M. I say this because of this massive rebranding and overhaul of this team. You look at all the work they did in free agency. They did everything on the defensive side of the ball, so they're going to go ahead and they're going to draft offense. And when you've got a guy as electrifying as Johnny Football, and you're going to put him in there with a brand new uniform combination, brand new logo, it's a new day in Tampa Bay, Johnny Football number 2 jerseys, it makes sense.
I agree with you in the sense that if this is my problem though, if Johnny Manziel is available at 7, he would go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without question. But the problem is, I do not think he makes it past that 6th pick.
That would be tough because someone would trade up even if the other teams didn't take it.
And actually, as we're recording right now, I was looking at the bottom line on NFL Network, and the Jacksonville offensive coordinator Caldwell just came out and said that Johnny Manziel is the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft. Is that a smokescreen? Is that somebody basically, calling their shot on what they're going to do? Or, is that to try to drum up trade interest for the St. Louis Rams? Because, there's a little bit of gamesmanship going on.
I'm actually watching this crawl, too, and they have exactly my 5 picks.
So what you're saying is you watched this early?
Actually, they have my exact 7 picks. 8 picks.
So
God, stop it!
So where are we at?
The break. Okay.
Where are we at? We're at the 8th pick right now.
Being the Vikings.
Darren?
Skull. I just watched the ending of Vikings today. It was badass for the season finale for this year.
Yeah, was it throwing up a lame duck in the end zone that got intercepted in return for 105 yards? Because that's how the most endings of Vikings things have gone lately.
If Tim Tebow has a thought, is it Christian Ponder?
Oh, very nice. No, it was more of a slow kind of.
God, he's so lucky he's slamming an ESPN reporter.
Is he?
Yeah, Sam Steele.
And they don't even bring that up.
No, she's Sam Ponder now on ESPN. They're married.
Oh, I thought you meant Tebow. That's why I was like...
Yeah.
No, man, he claims that he doesn't have sex.
If Tebow had sex...
That's what I'm saying. I can't believe that it wasn't being brought up.
Angels weeping, statues would cry blood.
If Tebow had sex, there would be white smoke coming from every church's chapel.
Including the Vatican.
Getting back to the draft, I have the Vikings selecting Derek Carr, quarterback from Fresno State.
That's a very good pick. He's been very sneaky in moving up draft boards. Yep. Gruden's quarterback camp was a real eye-opener to me on Derek Carr.
And I know they've been talking about it a lot, that wherever Derek Carr goes, they're going to sign David as the backup.
It's not going to happen.
It wouldn't happen here because you already have Christian Ponder and Matt Castle still, no?
No, yeah, they do have Matt Castle.
Yeah, so I mean,
they declined to pick up the option on Christian Ponder today.
Why would you pick up the option on Christian Ponder?
I don't know. Cause
you're a glutton for punishment. You like throwing money down the drain. You like pissing on your shoes.
If anybody's not going to take any shit, it's Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's BPA at that pick, but Cameron, you're next.
Okay, well, remember that was from the trade, so Atlanta's currently on the clock. I have them taking Anthony Barr, linebacker / defensive end from UCLA. Now, he's a guy, he's very stealthily come around and done the kind of things that people need to do. He was a fullback 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Now he's a linebacker, and he's insanely good at getting at the quarterback. So, with this team, Atlanta, it looks like they're going to transition to more of a 3-4 with some of the signings, Paul Soliai, Tyson Jackson that they did in the offseason. So what better than to take a rushing outside linebacker than to go ahead and grab a guy like Anthony Barr?
But I would still think that they need quarterback more than on defensive line and stuff like that.
I agree with that. I think that they desperately need quarterback. And with my number 8 pick, I actually have them taking Blake Bortles. Like I was saying before, I think that it is a thing where you can say, we're going to go ahead and do what we need to do for quarterback, but I don't think that you need to throw away all those extra draft picks to go get him. I think at 8, Blake Bortles is going to be there.
I mean, take away Dante Culpepper's early success, they really haven't had anything except for Brett Favre's, one season there.
I agree.
So, and Ponder obviously hasn't worked. They reached to get him a couple years ago.
You can name your quarterbacks from Minnesota on one hand with like 3 fingers. Favre, Culpepper, and Moon. That's about it.
Oh, don't forget about fucking
Randall Cunningham.
No. There's another one.
Took him to the
There's another one. The little fucking squirrely white guy never won a Super Bowl. He's
Fran Tarkenton?
Yes, he's a douchebag.
I choose to omit Fran Tarkenton from my mind.
He thinks he's the greatest thing to ever happen to the quarterback position. It's like, shut the fuck up.
If everybody stopped watching TV after the NFC Championship games, yeah.
Yeah.
In the 70s.
And Morton Anderson.
Trent Dilfer.
So, where are we at?
We're at 9.
We're at the 9th pick?
You.
I believe it's on you.
Oh, okay. The 9th pick is on me. Buffalo Bills are on the clock. I have them selecting Eric Ebron, tight end from the University of North Carolina. Eric Ebron's a genetic freak, and with spending a high draft pick on E.J. Manuel last season, having Stevie Johnson, trading for Mike Williams, what's one thing that's missing in that offense? Because you got Fred Jackson, you got C.J. Spiller,
and they're thinking about not picking up the options on either of them.
Yeah, and you need a centerpiece tight end, because that's the way the NFL's going right now. And Eric Ebron, he's in that Vernon Davis mold where you can split him outside. He's kind of like Aaron Hernandez without the murder.
Actually, that's exactly what my pick is as well. I think that Eric Ebron is your safety blanket. He's your impact player. He's the only tight end I see in the draft right now that you can plug in and is going to be an impact player. If he could go to a team like the Patriots or something like that, Bill Belichick would nut his pants. Okay, but he's not. And I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to pick up something just to give that new quarterback that nice little wubby target to throw to. Because what's the best thing for a new quarterback with issues to have?
Franchise tight end.
Yep.
Heath!
Well, we have our first unanimous selection because I also have Eric Ebron going to the Bills in the 9th pick. I mean, what else can we say that we already have?
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and move on to 10. The Detroit Lions. I have them taking Jake Matthews, offensive tackle from Texas A&M. I think that the biggest thing that they have right now, I think they have receivers they can throw to. I think they have a running back they can use. I think they have a halfway decent defense. I think the problem is that their quarterback, Matt Stafford, keeps getting his fucking ass kicked. So get that safe offensive lineman out there to watch his ass and protect him.
I agree that they definitely do need that, but I do believe that more pressing need would be defense, and I have them taking Clinton Dix for safety.
Free safety, Alabama.
Yes.
He's a rangy, fluid athlete. He has great read and react skills. He's a really good safety.
And he came from the NFL minor leagues, the SEC. SEC.
I just think a guy like that, you have Aaron Rodgers in the division. You don't have to worry too much about what the Vikings are doing.
He's great in coverage. He can come down and he can grab that third receiver. He can cover a guy like Jordy Nelson if need be, or an athletic freak tight end if the Packers were able to get a guy like Austin Seferian-Jenkins later on, or Jason Morrow. And it makes a lot of sense, your pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad pick. It's a very good pick. I just don't think that's their desperate need.
My pick for the Detroit Lions is actually going to make Walgoria incredibly happy. There have been rumors going around that Detroit wanted to mortgage the farm to go up and get a wide receiver. One is going to fall right into their laps. The Detroit Lions select Mike Evans, wide receiver from Texas A&M. You've got Calvin Johnson, Megatron, over here. And you got a 6'5" wide receiver over here, and you got a tight end in the middle, and
you've got a quarterback with Down syndrome.
I'm Matt Stafford, but it makes so much sense.
Is it Matt Stafford or Scooby Doo?
if he falls that far, then definitely they'd be stupid not to take him.
It's only like 3 picks, so it's really not that far.
They won't be able to get that pick up on board quick enough.
I agree.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
What
So
would
now
you pick for the Lions?
I said, God, now I got to look back at my thing. Jake Matthews.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now we're at the 11th pick. Tennessee Titans are currently on the clock. Biggest surprise of the draft so far. I've got the Tennessee Titans drafting Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, so do I.
From the University of Louisville. See, Jake Locker was drafted by the previous regime. The previous GM, the previous coach. Now what's going on? You've replaced the general manager since Locker was drafted. And then you've got a guy coming in Ken Wisenhunt, who knows how to work with quarterbacks. A lot of places had said that if Teddy Bridgewater had fallen, Teddy Bridgewater would go to San Diego. It makes perfect sense that Ken Wisenhunt, being in Tennessee, with the Kentucky roots, Teddy Bridgewater, the Tennessee Titans.
I couldn't disagree more with their first pick. I think that they have a glaring need at a certain position, and that glaring need is something that they've lost this offseason. Care to wager a guess at what need they might need because they have they're missing a guy? I don't know. Alteron Werner?
Oh, yeah.
So with the 11th pick, I have the Tennessee Titans taking Justin Gilbert, cornerback from Oklahoma State. He's a talented cover corner, and he's a special teams guy. And right now in Tennessee, I think that you're looking for guys who can be dual threats, guys that you can utilize in utility positions and really work around.
But do you think that that's more important than a quarterback? I mean,
I don't think they're as desperate at quarterback as everybody's making them out to be. I think that they too can wait and then make a move in the second round where you don't have to mortgage the farm to go get a quarterback. And taking Teddy Bridgewater, I don't have Teddy Bridgewater going before 15. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is even the BPA quarterback on the list right now.
He probably isn't, but I think he fits their style a little bit better. And obviously, you got like the hometown ties, Tennessee.
I agree. But how many times has that hometown tie actually worked out in their favor? Not often.
Not a whole lot. But at this point, you're in a major rebuilding mode in Tennessee, and that's the reason why I grabbed a guy like Bridgewater. I mean, you already lost Kenny Britt in the offseason. Yeah. You don't have too many receivers. Lavelle Hawkins signed with the Buccaneers. So what do you got there at receiver? What do you got there at running back? Sean Green? What do you have at tight end? You got nothing.
Why would you take a quarterback?
Because you're going to start building with the quarterback. That's one thing that Ken Wisenhunt never had in Arizona, outside of Kurt Warner for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But he never got that young quarterback, which is why as soon as Kurt Warner retired, Wisenhunt got fired.
More or less.
And with the death of the owner, Bud Adams, they're going to try for some stability in this franchise for a couple of years. And Wisenhunt's going to get 3 or 4 years.
I agree.
So why not start with a quarterback?
Yep.
So we're going to go to 12. And with the 12th pick in the NFL draft, the New York Giants select C.J. Mosley, inside linebacker, Alabama. He's smart. He's a leader. And New York needs one thing desperately, and that's a defensive captain. This is a guy that you're moving in to make your defensive captain. He's disciplined. He might not be the most awe-inspiring linebacker you have, but he's the guy that keeps everybody in tow and in line and in the spectrum and calls out plays and sees what's going on. It can help direct some of these very talented, kind of dumb guys to move around and make good plays now.
Will Allen.
I also have the Giants taking C.J. Mosley. I mean, the Giants haven't had decent linebackers probably since the first run of Super Bowl teams. I would say that, like you were saying about him, he's much like an Antonio Pierce was when we had him in the first Super Bowl team in 07-08. And, a lot of teams, a lot of mock drafts were thinking maybe Ebron would go here, kind of like a Shockey 2.0.
I don't think Ebron's going to make it that far.
He's definitely not going to make it that far. And at that point, you got to go defense.
I would say that if you're going to... I have one thing with Mosley that I really like over other guys, is that if Tom Coughlin likes one thing, he likes guys he doesn't have to look over. You're supposed to be there to do your job. And if Tom Coughlin loves one thing, he loves not having problems.
He loves not babysitting.
Take my orders. Do what I told you to do. And get out on the field and make them do what I told you to do.
Yep.
All right, with my pick, I actually have the New York Giants trading with the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are going to give up their first, 2/3, and a 6th to move up from the
28th and
from the 30th spot, actually.
Deep.
So, and San Francisco needs a little bit of help on the offensive side of the ball. I have them taking Odell Beckham, wide receiver from LSU, in an incredible reach.
Oh, yeah.
That is an incredible reach.
But he's speedy, he's shifty. You know, when Crabtree wasn't playing up to 100% last year, when he wasn't playing at all last year because of the Achilles injury, you're throwing to Vernon Davis, Mario Manningham, and 3 feet of shit. So what are you going to do? You're going to get a young guy to bring in to bolster the other side, and then you can have Manningham as a third receiver. You can have Vernon Davis as a tight end /4 receiver.
Well, you still have Bolden, too.
Yeah, but he's getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
So, you're building for your future. This isn't a team that is one piece away from the Super Bowl. They're a touchdown away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's not like they need this, they need that. They're deep at running back, so you don't even need to take one of those.
They need a new linebacker.
They picked up the 5th-year option on Alden Smith.
If he doesn't go to jail.
And guess what? Guess what? You have Tank Carradine waiting in the wings for San Francisco. So right now, this is a team that is just going to bet the farm to prepare themselves for the next 2 years. Because I don't think that Anquan Bolden's going to make it through the 2-year contract that he signed with them.
No. I mean, they're a weird fluke fumble away from beating the Giants and making the Super Bowl that year against the Patriots. They made the Super Bowl against the Ravens, and they were in the NFC Championship game again last year, so they don't need much.
Yeah.
So
They've been on the precipice of glory for a long time, but I think of one thing when I think of the San Francisco 49ers, and I think of Jim Kelly and the Bills. I think that they're always going to be there, but I think that they're always going to be a bridesmaid and never the bride. That's just my thought.
Jim Kelly, we're thinking about you right now.
He's
good
back
luck.
home. He's doing all right.
Kicking cancer's ass. I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah, we got nothing but love for Jim Kelly. I really wish he would have got a ring. But there's some guys out there like Dan Marino and Jim Kelly who will always be great, but never really got that precipice. And I think right now the problem with the San Francisco 49ers winning that title is Jim Harbaugh.
All right, so that brings us to the next pick.
And his khakis.
From Walmart.
Dockers.
$9. The 13th pick, I have the Rams selecting Greg Robinson, tackle from Auburn.
A lot of places said that he could have gone at number 2 to the Rams, and if he falls all the way to 13, they're tripping over their dicks to get up to there.
Absolutely.
I had him taking him at 2, so it's very possible that if he falls that far, it's not probable that he falls that far, but it is possible, and that's an absolutely great pick for them because I don't think that they've given up on Sam Bradford at all.
No, and this is Bradford's year. If he comes out, he lays an egg, gets injured, and Kellen Clemens comes out and doesn't perform very well, they're staring a Marcus Mariota or a Jameis Winston in the face.
They're taking a quarterback in the 2nd round or the 3rd round. They're taking one of those guys who are on that fringe that are sitting out there and going. They're going to get themselves a backup guy that they think they can mold into a franchise quarterback, but they don't want to put the heat on Sam Bradford right now because if there's something that Sam Bradford doesn't do very well is react well with competition.
Glass shoulders.
I never agreed with that pick in the first place. I never agreed with taking a guy who has a history of terrible shoulder injury.
He wasn't the number 1 quarterback in that class.
He was much like Colt McCoy, and you saw where he fell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Colt McCoy has turned into a serviceable backup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that brings me to the St. Louis Rams pick. I have them taking Clinton Dix from Alabama safety. It's a glaring area of need in that defense.
I think that's actually my pick as well. I think that's the most glaring need in their defense. A defense that is firing off on almost all cylinders. A guy like Clinton Dix can fit in that position
Center
right now
fielder.
and make them an unstoppable juggernaut at defense. And so now you're not worried about outscoring them. You're worrying about having to score on that defense.
It opens up the run game by having a great defense because if you can go up 7-0, you can rely on your defense to help maintain that. You're grinding the clock.
Plus, you got Kaepernick and Russell Wilson in your division there, so
yeah. You need a good center fielder, somebody who can just patrol the middle.
Yeah, and give your linebacker a chance to move on to the quarterback, whereas Laurinaitis was dropping back into those kind of catch positions like a Brian Urlacher of sorts. Now he gets to do what he did last season and go through there and attack that quarterback and put up those numbers and make those tackles and stuff that running back. So if you get that safety out there that can really control that midfield, you're opening up your all-star linebacker to make some really big impact plays.
All right, with the next pick, currently Chicago's on the clock. However, Miami sees the flood of offensive linemen coming off the board.
There are way too many trades in your draft, man.
Well, this is just how I think. They're going to see all these linemen coming off the board, and they're going to see teams like Pittsburgh, Dallas, Baltimore that all need offensive line help coming up before them. They trade up. They grab another Michigan tackle because Jake Long worked out very well for them. Taylor Lewin. Miami's going to draft Taylor Lewin. They're going to trade, I don't know, third and a fifth. Yeah, the price goes down.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I don't see that happening. I think the Chicago Bears have a glaring need, just like the St. Louis Rams did. And seeing that the guy that they thought they were going to get, Clinton Dix, coming off of the board, they're going to freak out and take the BPA at that position. I think that they're going to pick up Calvin Pryor, free safety from Louisville. He's a monster safety. He's an impact player. He's an NFL-style guy. He's a guy that can come in there and make a big impact play. You got yourself a new defensive end. You got yourself some good defensive pieces, and you're going to go out there and you're trying to become the monster of your division. Calvin Pryor is a guy that you can plug in that would be just like Clinton Dix, if not more aggressive.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that, and I've actually got Calvin Pryor falling to them in the pick that they traded with Miami.
Okay.
So
I just see that new coach making like a gut check decision and blocking out all options and making his pick because it's his pick and that's what he needs right now to make it work. That's just the way I think on that.
I think that one of the biggest things that have been proven with the Bears over the last several years is Cutler. Jay Cutler can't keep his ass healthy.
You're going to say Kyle Orton?
I was. Yeah, because I was going back that far.
Kyle Orton could have taken them to the Super Bowl. He could have won that game.
Yes, indeed.
Fucking Rex
Grossman, faggot. Anyway.
And Lovey's admitted that it was a terrible mistake.
Yeah, well, hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? But I believe that Jake Matthews, the offensive tackle, would be a perfect pick in this for the Bears right now.
They do need some protection.
You kick Roberto Garza over to right tackle. You put in Jake Matthews at the left, and
I just don't think he falls that far.
No, I know.
That's just yeah.
If it goes the way I was thinking, he's still available, and that's the best player.
The BPA offensive lineman right there.
We do agree to disagree.
Yeah.
We all couldn't be more off base with each other on that pick. So
I have a feeling that I'm gonna Kuiper this thing. This entire thing is just gonna be Kuipered.
You are kind of going Kuipery.
If you
Todd.
Even half the trade.
Damn it, Mel. So that brings us to 15, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have one glaring need right now. They've lost their guys through the last couple of seasons. Mike Williams went to Miami. Yep. Now, who is it? Emmanuel Sanders, or is it Antonio Brown? Emmanuel Sanders is gone.
Yep.
I have them taking, with the 15th pick, Odell Beckham, wide receiver, LSU.
LSU, yeah.
He's speedy, he's smooth, he makes catches happen, he's got that quick jerk reaction, and he's the perfect offset to give Ben Roethlisberger another option.
I mean, that's always a good thing, especially with the way... Well, he's not so mobile anymore, but I think the Steelers have a more pressing need, and that would be on defense.
I agree, yeah. But I don't think it's more pressing, because they did pick up a safety.
Yeah, but... I mean, I think there's other guys later on. You don't need to get Beckham here. You can get someone of equal value a little bit later. But I have them picking Darqueze Dennard out of Michigan State.
I originally had that pick in that slot, and I actually dropped him off my boards because I did a little research on the guy, and I saw some problems there. And I just think that with the Pittsburgh Steelers, their defense is kind of old, and they're needing some serious rehab there. And I think that right now they're all about trying to throw the ball and give another option to Ben Roethlisberger. I don't disagree with the pick because I almost made it. Yeah. But I think that wide receiver might be more important for them right now, especially with wide receivers that are going to come flooding out of the boards before they get to make their next pick.
Yeah.
All right, and my pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Justin Gilbert, the cornerback from Oklahoma State. You just look at what has happened. They cut Ryan Clark. You know, you go off, they signed Captain Munnerlyn in the offseason, if I'm not mistaken. They're trying to rebuild this defense with whatever limited cap room that they got. So what better than to add the consensus number one corner in the NFL draft with your mid-first round pick? It makes too much sense, and he's a guy that's under team control for 4 to 5 years at a very cheap number. By then, you're able to jettison the contracts for Palomalu, Brett Kiesel, all these guys that have these big cap numbers that are currently handcuffing this team. All these guys are going to be gone by the time this guy needs a. This is the beginning of the major overhaul for Pittsburgh. They're not going to suffer like most teams because they have a franchise quarterback.
He's brittle. He's hurt.
They're going to be getting all these. They're going to rebuild, and they're going to rebuild pretty quickly.
I still think you got at least 5 good seasons with Ben, as long as he doesn't get massively.
He's locked in for the long haul. He's not going anywhere. They're not going to let him go anywhere.
I meant healthy wise, as long as he stayed healthy.
He can, as long as he can stand up on those
When's the last time he played 16 games?
When's the last time he played 10 games healthy?
When's the last time he played games without a suspension?
When he played NFL Madden.
He wasn't suspended last year.
Okay, but he got injured.
He missed a couple games.
He was injured last year.
The season before.
4 games the season before.
Thank
injury
you, Charlie
the previous year. Motorcycle accident 4 years ago. Rookie year. Rookie year was the last time he played a full 16 games.
He's an idiot.
Did he even play the full season? I don't think he started that year, did he?
He went 15-1.
And he was a busted-ass mummy by the time that season ended. He's a busted-ass mummy every time the season ends.
Yeah. Because he takes too many hits. He's huge and everything, but it's just rough. So now we're up to, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
Boo Jerry Jones. Boo this man.
Now the biggest rumor is that they're going to take Johnny Manziel, but I don't think he'd ever fall this far.
I think he could.
To 16, no, I think
could.
He could.
It's possible.
It's incredibly possible.
I know it's possible, but I think somebody else would trade up, especially with the way they're talking about they would take him. Because I mean, at first I thought it was just he's from Texas, and it'd be a great story to have him there. But then I started thinking maybe Tony Romo was banged up more than we know.
Why would you pay him?
Jerry Jones is an idiot.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up.
You can still look at a doctor's report and know a guy's not healthy.
Yeah, but did they give him that contract before?
Yeah.
Nobody would ever give you a contract before you passed your physical.
No,
Denver Broncos, Peyton Manning.
He had passed his physical.
No, but they gave him that contract before the season, and then he got that back.
It wasn't guaranteed until he had passed his physical.
Yeah, but then he got hurt in week 15 or whatever it was.
He did.
He got the contract in the offseason, played 14, 15 games, and then got his back almost decapitated.
Yeah, but he was healthy to that point when they gave him the contract.
Yeah. So they gave him the contract before the injury, and that's what I'm saying is maybe the injury is worse than we think, and that's why he's talking about maybe drafting Manziel.
Can we all agree that Dallas is in shambles, and it makes me so hard?
Very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rubbing my nipples right. How bad does it feel about Jerry Jones?
So, who was your pick?
My pick is going to be Anthony Barr, outside linebacker for UCLA.
Are you going to play him at defensive end? Monty Kiffin will.
Yeah. But is he even there still?
Yeah.
Kiffin?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that they let him go.
News to me.
No. Monty Kiffin's still there. But they did him no favors by trading away the best player on the Cowboys roster, by cutting the best player on the Cowboys roster last year.
They were just using him incorrectly. He must be a bum now.
oh my God, he's 29.
But they brought back Anthony Spencer.
I think Anthony Spencer can work. I think that, who's the other guy? White boy?
USF.
Must have thought it was White boy?
USF.
Yeah.
Shit.
I know who you're talking about, too.
Yeah, he
was the guy after Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah. That was the guy before JPP.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
God, what the fuck is that dude's name?
Oh, my God. Who cares?
Sean Lee.
No, not Sean Lee.
No, it's not.
No, it's a defensive end.
It's a defensive
played
end.
at USF.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And I think he has a weird name like Pierre-Paul did, too.
No, it's not. It's.
No?
I had him on my fantasy roster last year for a week. Who cares? We'll figure it out.
I'll go to the Google machine.
All right, so with my pick, Dallas still on the clock, I have them taking Aaron Donald, defensive tackle from Pitt. See, the one thing that Lovie Smith needs in that kind of a defense, not Lovie Smith, the thing that...
Boo.
Yeah, boo. And
Way to go, Mel Kiper.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that Monty Kiffin needs in that kind of defense is a three technique who can shoot the gap. And Aaron Donald fits that mold. And if they're truly going to build from within in Dallas, you need to start with a defensive tackle.
Just to call back to the guy we were thinking of, George Selvey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, George Selvey. Yeah, he came in and had like 6 sacks last year. He was cut by 2 teams in training camp. So, all right. And now we've got Baltimore on the clock. Baltimore.
No, I didn't even get to make my pick.
Yeah,
I just get paid.
who cares?
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Wait a dick.
You know what?
You.
You can just jump in and say it, Matt.
I have Dallas taking Timmy Jernigan, nose tackle from Florida State. He's tough. He's a guy who wins on the snap. And if you're paying your quarterback all this money, you might as well get somebody that can put some pressure on behind him. So, like, you just gave away some players in your defense. You lost some guys. Why not put a hard nose tackle right in there, move him into a different position? You can go now. You can use the 3-4 if you want to. You can also kick him out into another position. I think that he's a really good format for that defense. I think it's something that can help them try to get back on the right motor.
That's a very good
Compelling
pick.
argument.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, what pick are we at now?
Now we're at the Baltimore
Yeah,
Ravens.
but what number are we at?
17.
17? Okay, with the 17th overall pick, the Baltimore Ravens draft Zach Martin, guard from Notre Dame. This is a team that's had a lot of offensive line issues. They've had a lot of guys leave. They've cut a lot of guys. They're trying to fill in with nothing. Why not just start building your line now?
Zach Martin is cool because he's a possible future Pro Bowler, and he can play 2 positions. He can play guard, or he can play tackle.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a guy who can play the pass rush side, and he can play both positions. That's a really good pick. I just don't think that's the pick that they need right now. They have another glaring weakness besides protection in that offense, and with the 17th pick for the Baltimore Ravens, I have them taking Marquise Lee, wide receiver from USC. Cat-like quickness. He's got some injury concerns, but he's a guy that you could put opposite their other wide receiver, Torrey Smith, and get some really good production going.
He's quicker than he is fast.
Yeah, I mean,
steal a line from Mike Mayock.
Look at Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is not this fucking create distance and blow up speed. He's a guy who can make quick cuts and get that really snappy wide receiver option. And if there's anything Joe Flacco loves, is dumping it off to the easy option.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went back and forth between wide receiver and my ultimate pick, and I just felt that with some of the guys they lost in their secondary, that this guy would be a perfect replacement. Justin Gilbert from Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm. Number 1 cornerback on the board. We both referenced him. He's a very good pick. Matt, what do you got?
So, the 18th pick, the New York Jets, with my good old buddy Rex Ryan. I can't believe you're still employed, Rex Ryan. Who the fuck is still employing Rex Ryan? I have the New York Jets fitting a very desperate need they need right now. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver, Oregon State. Fast, quick movement. He's got small hands, but he's super fast.
Boo! You suck, boo! It happens every time.
Just like they do
Anytime the Jets choose anything, yeah.
Darren, do you got anything to piggyback on that?
As far as my pick?
Oh, no, just anything to piggyback on Brandon Cooks.
I do believe that the Jets are going to pick a wide receiver, but I do have a guy that's going to be rated a little bit higher and be perfect to go with Eric Decker, who they signed in the offseason, and that's Odell Beckham from LSU.
Okay, yeah.
But I still have him available when they pick.
Yeah, Odell Beckham is a very good pick. He hands like glue. He's the kind of guy you just depend on, and I think he'll come in and day out. Decker's going to be a massive bust for them. Decker's going to be so exposed being away from Demaryius Thomas.
Well, that and being a product of a decent quarterback.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. I can't wait to watch that blow up on Eric and Jesse on the E! Network.
Did he get that show before or after?
He got that show before, but
And then his wife made him move to New
I
York.
think the show is what it's kind of like the Mark Teixeira situation.
Yeah.
When Mark Teixeira was a free agent in Major League Baseball, honey, I just want you to go where you're going to be happy. And then she saw the money that the Yankees were throwing at him. Honey, I want you to be a Yankee. And I think that's kind of what it was. It wasn't the perfect fit for Decker, but they were the ones that were going to pay him the most. Yeah. Plus, headquarters, and New York makes for a much more compelling storyline than Cleveland.
Yeah, and quarterback-wise, I mean, you're going to either have Michael Vick or Geno Smith throwing to you, and there's no way he's going to put up those same numbers.
Just say Michael Vick or Michael Vick because they're both because they've got the same exact skill set and they have the same amount of space between the ears. I mean, they're both idiots.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, like I can't see Geno Smith being the quintessential intellect that he thinks he might be.
I would love to hear a string theory seminar hosted by Geno Smith.
I'd like to see him read the
He'd be talking to you about polio.
All right, with my pick for the New York Jets, I have them taking Brandon Cooks also. They're going to be the New York Jets have now become the Oakland Raiders. They're enamored with height, weight, speed. And Brandon Cook fits the speed factor right there.
Rex Ryan can't get out of his own way and do the things that he's always done. He refuses to adapt. He's a thing of the past. He had it maybe working for 2 seasons, and it's been blowing up in his face ever since. But I think that's their guy. I absolutely think that's their pick.
And I will say this right now. Brandon Cooks, front runner for Rookie of the Year if he goes to the New York Jets. Because he's going to be fed the ball a lot. So where are we at now?
19 Dolphins, I believe.
Darren?
Did I go on the Dolphins or Jets?
Yeah, Matt led off with the Jets.
Oh, okay. Well, with the Dolphins, I have them selecting Aaron Donald from Pitt on the defensive line.
It's a very good pick.
I was kind of toying with thinking the Giants, and a lot of people were thinking that the Giants might take Donald as well, but I just think that with the defensive line that they have over there now, I mean, you need a pass rusher like that because what's his name? That's there now for the Dolphins. We always keep picking him in fantasy, and he always disappoints.
Oh yeah, Cameron Wake.
Yes. Yes.
All you had to say was Miami Dolphins disappoint. Cameron Wake. He's the only one worthy of fantasy status, and he sucks whenever you need him.
Except for that one game when he's on the waiver wire.
He's on the waiver wire. He blows up 4 sacks against Cincinnati last year, and we're all rushing to try to get him
and then
on
never
Tuesday.
Duplicated.
Yeah.
But having another guy on that line with him, I think, would be perfect.
All right. And then I've got the Chicago Bears and the Miami Dolphins slot. I have Calvin Pryor, safety from Louisville, falling to them. They're going to pick up a couple extra picks on the back end to help retool that defense, and they're still going to get the guy that they wanted. It happens every year where a team will just trade out that you didn't expect to trade, and they're going to fall back a couple of spots, and they're still going to get their guy. And I think that this is the situation. They're going to pick up, third whatever, and they're still going to get the guy that they wanted. They're still going to have him under control for 5 years. Plus, then they're able to grab an offensive lineman in a later round because it's a very deep offensive lineman draft from the extra pick that they picked up.
I have the Miami Dolphins picking up some protection for their quarterback, trying to make it work. I have them taking Zach Martin, offensive tackle from Notre Dame. I just think that fits in their system. I think that's something that they need. I think they need to work on protection. I think that they need to kind of turn that ship around as well.
Yeah, they just lost 2 offensive linemen.
They lost 2 huge
starters.
offensive linemen, yeah. Huge pains in the asses.
Mm-hmm. God, I would love to have Incognito on the Bucs.
I think Incognito is still a very serviceable guy, but I don't think that he's going to find. I think he's going to have trouble finding work. He's going to get it, but
he's still there. Jonathan Martin's with the 49ers now.
That's a waste.
Just like Blaine Gabbert's with the Niners. Think about that. All right. So,
Blaine is
what do we got?
Number 20, Arizona Cardinals.
All right. With the 20th pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals drafting C.J. Mosley, linebacker from Alabama. He's going to fall a little bit, but Arizona has got a glaring need at linebacker because of the loss of Carlos Dansby in the offseason to Cleveland. C.J. Mosley's going to be that kind of guy who can kick in on the outside, taking Dansby's spot, and they're not going to miss a step. You're pairing him up with a very young Darrell Washington. Dansby's long in the tooth. I don't think that his production's going to keep up, and I think any linebacker can really flourish in the Arizona system.
I think Arizona has Larry Fitzgerald come out in the draft and says, "Please save me with your pro-style offense, David Carr." I have the Arizona Cardinals taking David Carr.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck his name is.
I was toying back and forth with thinking they might take a quarterback, but I agree with you. They're going to pick defense, and I have them picking Coney Eli from Mizzou.
He's a very good pick. He can put his hand in the dirt or he can stand up.
Defensive end or linebacker.
He's got that. He fluctuates in that weight. You can put 20 pounds on him, and he could be a defensive tackle for you.
Yep.
Or he could stay at the weight that he is, and he could put his hand in the dirt on third down, and first and second down, play as a linebacker. It's very good. And to go off of your Derek Carr thing, Carson Palmer actually said today that he expects the Arizona Cardinals to draft a signal caller within the first 3 rounds. So if Derek Carr's there, they could pounce.
He's possible in slipping out of the first round.
Yeah, it's weird. Derek Carr is not that guy that you can get a barometer on.
No.
It's not like Andrew Luck or RG3 where you're like, okay, one's going to go 1, one's going to go 2. Derek Carr, I've seen him projected at number 3. I've seen him projected at number 63.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's very weird to get a bearing on him. And you would hope that his brother's failure at being an NFL quarterback doesn't affect Derek.
Because they're two totally different quarterbacks. They're two completely different quarterbacks. Okay, you can't take one and say the other. Even I flubbed their names. Okay, you're like, oh, look at the guy getting sacked. He's going to be just like his brother. He's going to suck. His when he was on Gruden quarterback camp, his play calling was incredible. Like his signaling, he had all these different hand signals that were very translatable to wide receivers, and he took these wide receivers and he just made them his wide receivers. He's making all the throws, he's making all the smart decisions, he's making all the hand signals. He can do the audible quickly. He can do things that other quarterbacks in this draft can't really do. And if you're looking at a guy who can really transform an offense, put him behind Carson Palmer for a year, have him learn the playbook. Come out and transform the team in 2 years.
Have them learn how to slow it down because it was a very quick up-tempo offense there in Fresno State.
And, with David Carr, I think his biggest problem was, he was drafted number 1. He was supposed to be the savior. And I think it was that year when they did the expansion.
Yeah, they took Tony Baselli with their first pick in the expansion draft, and Baselli never hit the field for him.
I don't even think he played.
And Derek Carr's thing was What Carr?
David Carr.
David Carr
was the older one.
Just couldn't stay off his back.
No. But also, wasn't that the first year that they didn't allow you to, handpick certain guys? Like when they did a supplemental draft to start the team?
Well, they did the expansion draft, and what ended up happening was each team chose not to protect
3 guys.
5 or 10 guys.
Yeah.
And then the Texans could go through and they could pick whoever they wanted.
Yeah.
And if they picked one of your guys, then you got a draft pick as compensation.
Yeah, and then they couldn't pick nobody else. But I know when they did the draft supplemental thing for when they brought in the Jaguars and the Panthers, it wasn't that same thing. And both of those teams made the championship games in year 2 because they were able to pick all these.
And that's
awesome
why they
teams.
changed the expansion draft rules.
Oh,
was
sure
because
did,
of the quick success of Carolina and Jacksonville.
Yeah, because they both made it to the championship.
I think that's how you absolutely build it. That's how you absolutely build a franchise team, though. You can't have a franchise team living in obscurity for fucking 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. You need them to be contenders immediately.
But they get the gift of the number 1 overall pick.
Doesn't matter. You get one pick.
That's the way that it comes off. Plus, you're a team that is in no salary cap trouble. So you do the expansion draft in March, and you get your base of players before free agency starts, and then you have an unlimited pocketbook. Well, you're limited by the salary cap.
It's a rule of relegation, okay? 3 teams get relegated in soccer, 3 teams come up. But now,
soccer.
Now you have to go through there and you have to say, okay, now we're in the big leagues. Now we have to spend money and get all these guys, but we have nobody to pick from. We don't have the finances that are able to go out there and buy guys because we just bought a fucking NFL franchise. If you want an expansion team to succeed, you have to let them do what they were doing before. Otherwise, Carolina is having Jacksonville problems.
No.
Period.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's what happened. Or even the new Browns. I mean, they haven't really done dog shit since they came back.
Yeah.
So 21, Green Bay Packers. I have them taking Austin Seferian-Jenkins, wide receiver from Washington.
ASJ.
Height, weight, speed. Could be a top guy in the NFL. You don't know.
Yeah.
But he's something that you can work him at tight end, and there's something that Aaron Rodgers kind of needs.
He has
Jermichael Finley ain't working.
Yeah, I mean, he has every bit of potential to be better than Jermichael Finley, and Finley's still recovering from that neck injury, so it's unknown if he's going to play at all.
Yeah, he can't even sign with anybody, because didn't he try to sign with Seattle?
Yeah, he can't pass a physical right now. So Austin Seferian-Jenkins, it's kind of a reach of a pick, but it's a very good pick. If you wanted to reach for him, you could, and it's not going to disappoint anybody.
No.
Because Seferian-Jenkins in his senior season over at Washington did dick for shit.
Dick for shit.
Dick for shit. Darren, what do you got going on with the Green Bay Packers?
I have them selecting Kyle Fuller, cornerback from Virginia Tech.
Okay. Yeah, very, very rangy guy.
Well, I think, you got a division with Brandon Marshall and Megatron, and who's the other guy now on Chicago also?
Oh, Alshon Jeffrey.
Alshon Jeffrey.
My savior.
Yep. So, I think he'd just be a perfect fit for that defense.
Yeah. I'm going in the same route as you. However, it's not the same player. I've got Darqueze Dennard falling to Green Bay.
I think that's a very realistic point.
He's a Michigan State player. I mean, he fits the kind of defense that they want to run.
Fits the kind of weather that they're used to.
Yeah, he's used to. It's all these different factors, and Darqueze Dennard. It's kind of the perfect storm for him to end up there.
I don't know, man. I think that there's a couple of things that they need in that position, but I don't think taking a cornerback would be a bad thing, especially with Morgan Burnett underperforming last year, being injured. You have some need in that position, and you really don't want it to be a shootout because maybe you're going to throw 40 points this game, or maybe you're going to throw 20.
Yeah.
So might as well protect some of these long bombs and get rid of some of these wide receiver threats that you've been dealing with before. It's not impossible.
Yeah, because we all know that with losing James Jones in the offseason, the Green Bay Packers and their quarterback AR-12, they're not going to be able to pop up 45 points a game anymore. And they need to start building that defense because that defense has been a big problem for them. I almost had them taking Louis Nix because of B.J. Raji leaving.
I only have them reaching on a tight end because I don't believe they're smart enough to take a person. I think they're all about their high-octane offense, and I think that they don't worry enough about their defense, and I think that's Green Bay's biggest problem.
Oh, and no, not slighting you in the least. I'm just saying, ASJ is a reach. You could probably get him at the same pick in the second round.
I agree.
But if they really want him with the CBA and the rules with the rookie wage scale, it doesn't set your franchise back the way that it used to by reaching for a player.
No.
If they were going to make a move, and if they wanted to do something risky, I think that the guy that they really want is Eric Ebron. I think that's the guy that they really want.
Mortgage the future to try to win now?
I just don't think they're going to do that.
No, it's Green Bay. They always play it safe. They have every ample opportunity to go ahead and reach.
But I think that they want that tight end guy, and I think that's what the reach is for. And I think that they're too obsessed with their high-octane offense to do anything about it.
I think that Jay Samaro is a better tight end than Austin Seferian-Jenkins? Yes. Do I think that ASJ fits the Green Bay offense better than Jay Samaro would? Yes.
Think about the coach. Think about height, weight, speed.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
All you have to do is look at the last couple of playoff losses that they've had since they won the Super Bowl, and they gave up like 50 points to the Cardinals, almost 40 points to the Giants, and then to the Niners, I think it was, they gave up another like 35 plus. They definitely need defense.
It's a problem with their defense shitting the bed in January. And I think the rebuild starts now. I mean, you got Peppers in the offseason.
It's a start.
Why not continue the rebuild?
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, now we're up to number 22. We got the Eagles. And there's a couple of different ways I could have gone here. They definitely need a wide receiver, and I still have Lee and Benjamin available, but ultimately, I think the best guy is Brandon Cooks out of Oregon State. I think he's a perfect replacement for Deshaun Jackson that they just lost.
Chip Kelly tried recruiting Brandon Cooks to Oregon.
I think he's got some serious competition to get Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of you guys already had him go, right?
Oh, I already did.
Yeah.
And so did Matt. We both had him going to the Jets.
I actually have him going twice in my draft. Just because I have him fitting
He's that
in
awesome?
I have him fitting in two different spectrums, and I'm doing something different than anybody else would do.
Yeah.
I have him fitting perfectly into 2 or 3 different offenses, so I chose the best 2.
No.
Yeah. No, I'd Brandon Cooks in that Eagles offense would just be dangerous.
I just think he's going to have a hard time getting on that team.
Being drafted earlier, you mean?
Yeah.
Philadelphia would have to trade up in order to get Brandon Cooks. They'd have to get in front of the Jets. There's no secret that the Jets are enamored with him. They've had him in 3 times for a visit. You don't do that unless it's a major smokescreen or you just like bringing this kid to New York.
Yeah. And you're feeding him hookers. Which is not outside of the possibilities.
Shut up, Galvin.
Happened. Oh. Okay.
Try being a self-righteous, pompous ass now.
All right, with my pick, Philadelphia Eagles, I have him taking Coney Ely from Missouri.
Yeah.
Good pick.
The reasons that I said before, he's a very flexible player. You can have him play. He can play defensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, and at this point, defense is the only thing that's keeping Philadelphia from contending for the Super Bowl. Yeah, you can run your offense for 90 plays a game, but in December, when you've done that for 3 months prior, you need to bring the throttle back and let your defense take over, and that is the major issue right now. So you know what? You start the rebuilding with Coney Ely, and you make shit happen.
Yeah.
My idea here is that the Philadelphia Eagles do need somebody to replace Deshaun Jackson. And they are working on needing a better wide receiver, some guy that can be, they have their fast guy, they have Jeremy Maclin possibly coming back, they have a couple of things that could be going on in that situation. I have them taking Kelvin Benjamin, wide receiver from Florida State, big, strong, long arms, able to make plays, different kind of guy that you can work into that weird offensive system, also a guy that can run a lot.
Yeah, no, that's it's completely possible too. It's kind of a crapshoot when it comes to the Eagles. There's not one position of need for them. They can go however they want to. They could even go quarterback.
And you have to remember, Chip Kelly could be doing this whole thing like a recruiting process.
Yeah. I mean, they could. This Eagles team is not a team that has 3 needs. They have 11 needs. They have 22 needs. So they could go any way.
It could literally be anything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they could go quarterback. They could go running back. They could take the first running back off the board. If you really think about it.
And save some wear and tear on McCoy.
Yeah. Carlos Hyde, bowling ball.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Very nice.
You're up.
Oh, I'm up. Okay. Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock. I have them taking Louis Nix, defensive tackle from Notre Dame.
Good
Big
boy, my
space
boy.
eater. You pair him right next to Don Terry Poe,
Yeah.
and you're getting some serious.
Think about who's sitting behind that. That's nasty. That's a good pick.
Don Terry Poe, Louis Nix, and then you've got Derek Johnson, Justin Houston. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, you're getting some pressure on quarterbacks. And
the only problem I have with my boy Louis Nix, my mint chocolate brother, is that he's got a lot of injury issues. And that he's got a lot of problems with missing games. He's got a lot of problems with collecting them injuries.
But what they did is they rotated Don Terry Poe in and out. Don Terry Poe only played like 55%.
You could be rotated out and still get hit.
So you could put the two of them on a rotation, and you've always got a fresh fat guy hitting you. And you know what's better than a fresh fat guy?
A skinny supermodel.
Yes.
Very nice.
I actually have Kansas City. This is how I did my draft, is that I decided that if I was going to make a trade somewhere in there, I was going to make that their pick in this spot. I have that the Kansas City Chiefs would make a deal to somebody to move up somewhere between 10 and, let's say, 20
and getting Brandon Cooks, wide receiver from Oregon State, because of his use at the slot receiver position, is something that they need to try to get
They just
Alex
need a
Smith
second
firing off.
receiver.
They need to get Alex Smith firing off at all cylinders, and he needs his slot receiver.
They just needed another receiver because double Dwayne Bowe didn't do dick last year, and who's the other guy? He was
Was it another
Irrelevant?
he came from Indianapolis, and
It's another guy named Baldwin, not the one from Seattle.
No,
Yeah, John Baldwin.
it wasn't John Baldwin. No, Doug Baldwin came from Seattle. John Baldwin got traded to San Francisco. It's Donnie Avery.
Donnie Avery
Yeah.
is correct.
Donnie Avery is the number 2 there, and Dwayne Bowe just didn't do anything to deserve that $50 million contract that he got.
Give him a slot receiver and see what Alex
Yeah.
Smith can do, and that's how I did that. Instead of jumping around and changing my draft picks in the orders, I decided to leave my team in the slot and say the guy that they would move up to pick. And so I have them taking Brandon Cook, so that's why Brandon Cook goes twice in my draft.
Okay.
Okay.
I have that being my only movement.
Perfect sense right now.
I
And then if they don't move up, then
They
the
would
Jets
need to
make
move
Brandon
up
Cooks.
ahead of the Jets.
Yeah.
No.
Or to move up to the Jets and offer them the house to go get a wide receiver.
They could move up with Dallas because Dallas needs a lot of cheap help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got salary cap troubles. They need a lot of
That's
cheap
the
help.
only really legitimate outside anybody's thought spectrum, because I was trying to do this, like, if I was going to make a trade, I wanted it to be something that everybody's like, that makes sense, and nobody's talking about that. Because in today's NFL, everybody talks about everything, so why would you tell anybody anything?
And KC's in a win-now mode. You have a quarterback, you have a running back, you have an offensive line, you have a tight end.
Reid is in charge. Andy Reid ain't saying shit.
No. I mean, he's probably too busy stuffing ribs down his throat.
Oh, he's at a summer home in San Diego at SeaWorld.
Well, I do believe the Chiefs definitely going to look for some wide receiver help, and they would definitely take Cooks if he was still on the board, but I had him going to the Eagles to the prior pick, so I think they're going to take Marquise Lee from USC.
It's a very good pick.
It's a very good
up
pick.
with Poe.
And in the year draft, he would be there, and he would work very well in that system.
If they lose out on Brandon Cooks, I could definitely see if Marquise Lee falls to them, that they would grab him.
I think Baltimore's all over his nuts, though. I think they love them some Marquise Lee. It's all over everybody's websites. If you just go look at who's talking to who, Baltimore's like giving him rim jobs behind the back dumpster. Like they want him so bad.
They're like, hey, Xavier, hey, Marquise Lee, you want some crab legs?
Joe Flacco said he'll take your drug tests. So we're going to 24, Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals have one kind of need. All right, so I have them taking Bradley Roby, cornerback from Ohio State University. I hate Ohio State. I hate them. But I think that they do produce some decent talent. He's a work-in-progress cornerback, but he's somebody that if you could take the time to put him as like your number 3 or 4 guy and give him some chances to work into the system, he's a guy that can become a 10 or 12-year cornerback.
See, the one thing that kind of turns me off from Bradley Roby is the fact that he got a DUI. However, you look at that Bengals roster.
It's Cincinnati, man.
I mean, they've got 5 attorneys on speed dial right now. So while that's not out of the question, I
realize it's a bit of a reach, but it's something that I think
I'm not saying that it's a reach at all. I think I've got Bradley Roby going in the next 3 picks.
So do I.
So I think that they're trying to change the perception of their team. If that makes any sense.
Now with Marvin Lewis in charge.
Yeah.
He's been there the whole time.
Well, maybe they're trying to build something now. Mike Brown's got a lot of control over that team, the owner. Maybe they're trying to build something now to where if they don't make it out of the first round of the playoffs this year, Marvin Lewis's head is on a pike.
I think Marvin Lewis's head's been on the pike for a while, and I think the biggest problem with Cincinnati is exactly the problem in Dallas. You need to get the fuck out of your office, and you need to start letting the guys you hired to control your team. Guess what? You're an armchair coach. You don't have the experience these guys do. And if Marvin Lewis could put out the team that he wants to put out, I bet we have a different Bengals.
Yeah. He's a defensive guru. He gets the best out of everybody. I mean,
He gets the best out of everybody from nothing.
Yeah, look at Pac-Man. And Look at
Dunbar. No, who's the Shawnee?
Oh, god damn it! The Arizona State linebacker,
Dasani Jones.
Dahani Jones.
Dahani Jones.
But I'm talking about a different guy. The guy who ended up leading the league in tackles last year.
Dunlap.
He was projected to go in the first round, and then he was undrafted.
Yeah. Was it Carlos Dunlap?
Got that. you were like, I'm gonna grab this linebacker for fantasy because he's got the most ethnic sounding name that I've ever heard before.
And then I won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that guy. You know who I'm talking about.
I think it's Carlos Dunlap.
No, it's not
it?
Dunlap. We'll figure it out. And sorry, I'm grabbing your phone so I can figure it out.
Okay, we have the same phone. Just don't look at the porn.
Oh no, we're good there.
It's my porn. You can't look at it.
I do believe though that the Bengals are also going to go with defensive backfield, but he's still available in my draft. Calvin Pryor from Louisville.
I think that's a great pick, and if he's available at that spot, then absolutely you have to snatch him up. And the fact that he hasn't been snatched up in your draft to this point is kind of
moot and pointless.
Yeah.
I've got Cincinnati taking Kyle Fuller, cornerback from Virginia Tech. They need a little bit of corner help. And by the way, the linebacker was Vontaze Burfict.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, I was talking about my defensive lineman.
Yeah, that was Carlos Dunlap or Geno Atkins.
Geno Atkins. Geno Atkins was my boy.
But right now, the only thing that's really keeping Cincinnati from being able to contend is the corner position, because every time they hit on a corner, he leaves the next year in free agency.
A decent cornerback could make the difference in that division because your quarterbacks are Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger.
And question mark.
Yes.
And nobody cares about the
Brian
Nobody
Hoyer?
talks about that. Could be Johnny Manziel.
Brian Hoyer's the man.
Yeah. He wants
He's the
2
man,
weeks.
he's the man, he's the man. He eats spam, he eats spam, he's broke.
But no, I got Kyle Fuller going there because there's a definite need at corner for Cincinnati. Darren, what's your next pick?
I have the Chargers selecting Jason Verrett from TCU.
Okay.
Pair him up there in
The Horned Frogs.
That's a very good pick. I mean, you can't have too many members of that secondary in that division.
No, I mean you got Peyton Manning, and you got crappy kind of Matt Schaub and Alex Smith, but
He has to be contended with.
Hey, here's the thing: Matt Schaub isn't a bad quarterback.
no.
He got in a bad
He's just
situation.
on a team with shitty teammates.
As soon as Foster went down last year, teams started only rushing 5 and dropping 6 back in coverage
because they didn't trust Ben Tate.
No. Yeah,
and they should have.
It was Ben Tate that went to Cleveland.
Yeah,
that's a great running back.
We were talking about that earlier. Yeah, you were talking about the running back. Yeah, it was Ben Tate that went to Cleveland.
Clearly, somebody else saw that was working.
Yeah,
and it wasn't Houston.
I mean, they dropped him Michael Turner money to come there. You remember when Turner left San Diego and went to Atlanta?
Yep.
Yeah, $24 million for like 4 years. Yeah, they gave him something similar to that. I have the San Diego Chargers taking Xavier Su'a-Filo, guard from UCLA.
I have him on my list, but I don't have him at that pick.
They need as much offensive line help as they can possibly get in San Diego right now to keep Phillip Rivers upright. And I think offensive line is the reason why that San Diego has yet to win a Super Bowl.
I think San Diego's going for that shutdown backfield. I think that they're trying to give their boy Weddle some help. All right, and I have them taking Kyle Fuller from Virginia Tech.
Okay.
So I have him falling back. So a lot of guys, you had Kyle Fuller going earlier, I think.
We all have like the same teams picking defensive backs, and we all just kind of rotate.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the draft and analysis, that we're all kind of on the same page in certain things, and then in other things that we're off. But this is the thing, is that they need that position. It's a difference in who you think can work in that.
See, Matt looks as a need thing. I look at an analytical thing, and you look at a
kind of combination.
Yeah, and that's what makes a 3-man draft show very good.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Well, my thing is with Kyle Fuller is that he's aggressive, he's smart, and he could be a starter right now. But you can afford to wait a season, then to put him in a rotation opposite Eric Weddle, so you give the other guys rotation with him and just see how he works out. So if he doesn't work out, it's only pick 25. It's not a make or break thing. You have time to pick another cornerback in the draft if you want to. You have time to fill other positions in there because it's a deep draft. But I think Kyle Fuller is the best guy in that position at that point in the draft for them to take to kind of get that. Because guess what? The West Coast is all about what right now?
Passing.
Shutting down that offense.
Yeah. See, the thing is, Kyle Fuller is a great pick there. He reminds me a lot of Morris Claiborne. Remember when Claiborne was coming out of LSU?
Absolutely.
How he was a very good press corner, and it's just a couple of things needed to be refined in his game. Kyle Fuller can read, so he's already got a step above Morris Claiborne. So yeah, I can see that pick happening.
Like Leonard Little. I like the number 54 because it spells Leonard Little.
My name is Eli Manning. I have the number 10 because it spells Eli Manning.
I talked to Lawrence Taylor. He told me that if I do crack, I will play awesome.
Well, that explains the Super Bowl wins, then.
You know what, man? One of my favorite. I'm not a Giants fan by any stretch of the imagination. I've only been a Giants fan twice in my life, and that's when they were beating the piss out of the Patriots. Okay? So, at the Peyton Manning and Eli Manning family Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving Day dinner 10 years from now, I just want to see those things like, hey, Eli, pass the rolls. 2 doesn't pass to 1, Peyton.
And then you just hear Eli hit the table.
Because I will always call Eli the better quarterback with 2 rings. Always. I don't care about the stats. I don't care about anything because the only thing that matters is that bling.
So, Darren, who do you have San Diego taking?
I already said Jason Verrett.
Oh.
Yeah, he was first.
Yeah, I started off.
Oh, okay. All right, well then
You've been drinking, it's cool.
Yeah.
He's had a few.
Yeah, had a few. Well, I'm 6th.
Or
26.
Okay, 26. Cleveland Browns. This is the pick that they acquired from Indianapolis in that terrible Trent Richardson trade. With the 26th pick, I have
Terrible
the Cleveland
for Indy.
Browns taking Derek Carr,
That's a great pick.
quarterback from Fresno State. You could have taken him at number 4, which you traded up to number 2. But you know what? You lag back. You let him fall because of the unknown with Derek Carr right now. And you get your franchise quarterback. Plus, he's got 2 weapons, a tight end, and a running back, along with a good offensive line. Cleveland is making moves, and all the little chicks with them crimson lips go, Cleveland rocks. Cleveland rocks.
I am on the same page as you, but I'm on a different mode of thought. And if I can give you some insight into my brain, who's the wide receiver in Cleveland right now?
Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon. What does he do that's really awesome?
He's quick.
He's quick. Okay? I have them taking Sammy Watkins at 4. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you go out there, and you don't necessarily need the commander on the field. You need that gun on the field. And I have Cleveland taking Teddy Bridgewater. And that's, I think, is a great fit for that offense right there because you know what? He might fuck some passes up, but you've got Sammy Watkins reaching out and grabbing that pass.
He's got
you've
a very good ring,
reaching out and grabbing those
wingspan.
passes. And you're able to get those guys to open up on the field. You've got the 4-3-4, and you've got Brandon Cooks opening up and just gunning down those lines, and you've got a player who has the ability to rocket that shit through. And guess what? It's cold in Cleveland, and he's going to be wearing the glove.
We've kind of made the same exact thought process here because you went wide receiver quarterback, he went wide receiver and quarterback, I went quarterback, and I'm now going wide receiver. Kelvin Benjamin from FSU.
A big guy.
Big guy
Just a
to
big
go with.
target.
Yes, you got Gordon the speedster, you got Cameron, who's kind of like a hybrid wide receiver and tight end, and then now you add him to the mix, and I have them taking Manziel. I mean, what's perfect for a guy like him who's rolling out of the pocket and throwing it up there?
A big guy like Mike Evans.
Or Kelvin Benjamin.
I mean, but I'm saying, Kelvin Benjamin is like Mike Evans in the fact that he's a very big guy.
Exactly.
And he's quicker than he is fast, to use that term again.
It could be a very nice offset for having that offense set up where you have Cook running out there and making those plays. Then you have a quick guy who can make a quick turn. The only problem with Teddy Bridgewater in my pick for that position is that he wouldn't be able to make the awesome completion. Like, he's not very direct with his passing. He has got the gun. He can make the tosses, but he doesn't make the tosses all the time. And only because of my pick, I say that having that receiver in that position doesn't fit well with my quarterback, but it's still a great pick for that position.
That brings us to the Saints at number 27.
I have the Saints filling a need that nobody really thinks about, okay? So at the 27th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Saints taking my boy Mint Chocolate at nose tackle because they need some serious help on the D-line.
They do. I mean, you got a big space eater to pair up with Cameron Jordan, and
Who's the other one?
I think they cut Will Smith.
Yeah, so they desperately need interior linemen.
Yeah.
It's something that they desperately need. And if they're going to take a guy at 26 or 27, I'm sorry, you're talking
26.
about it's
You're
27.
Right. It's 26.
27 is the Saints.
All right. Sorry.
It was my pick. We moved on. I moved us on without acknowledging it.
No.
Okay. I just think that the interior linemen on the Saints, they have a desperate need. They're in a position where you're going to need to take a guy who can make a difference, and you can actually kind of mortgage the pick on the injuries and say that at 27, Louis Nix is a much smarter choice now than it would have been 10 picks ago.
But then you have Knicks going earlier?
No,
I did.
He did.
Oh, it's you. Okay.
I just like Louis Nix because he's from fucking Notre Dame.
Well, no, and I have him
Touchdown,
going in the next
Jesus.
couple of picks.
So who do you got?
But I have for the Saints, I have Bradley Roby from Ohio State going.
I have that exact same pick.
It's one of the needs they desperately need on that defense.
Absolutely.
They need wide receivers, they need cornerbacks, and they need interior linemen.
What better than to send Bradley Roby to a city where you can drink and be within walking distance of your house?
I just think Roby is a really desirable cornerback in this draft, and I don't think he falls that far.
And
that's my only thought.
He didn't get to really show his skills at Ohio State because
It's the gun show.
teams were trying to run the clock out on OSU to keep that offense off the field. So Bradley Roby got to show how he performed in run protection, but in pass protection, he's very underrated.
Just like Louis Nix, I will do this exact same argument for the both of them. Okay? Just because the stat sheet doesn't say something doesn't mean that player wasn't an impact guy.
It's
you
Gerald
watch the
McCoy
film.
syndrome.
You got to watch the tape.
Yeah.
You have to watch the tape. You have to research your guys.
Look at the game tape.
You play to win the
I
game.
love this guy, okay?
I love this guy. This Louis Nix guy. He's my grinder. Okay. You agree with me there, Tarico?
I told you, don't call me at my house anymore at 11 o'clock in the afternoon. So, 28.
Darn.
I have the Panthers selecting Zach Martin from Notre Dame.
They do need some offensive line help.
I mean, you got Cam Newton. You got to protect him. I was thinking maybe to replace Steven Smith, wide receiver, but I already had all the other top wide receivers going already, so I think they could wait until the next round to get.
You can't go wrong with protecting Cam Newton. I just don't think he falls that far, but that's been the trend for my draft compared to yours.
Yep.
But I think that's what creates an interesting dynamic because we're on two completely different wavelengths. But I think that protecting Cam Newton, you can't go wrong. No. And he's a very dependable lineman.
I have Carolina trying to load that defense further, being in the NFC South with quarterbacks Drew Brees, Josh McCown, and Matt Ryan. I have them taking Jason Verrett, cornerback TCU. We've already discussed him.
Yeah.
I mean, he went earlier in your draft. I think he went earlier in your draft, Darren.
Yep. Chargers.
So yeah, I mean, Jason Verrett would be the logical pick there.
I actually didn't have him going.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, I don't have him on the board.
Oh.
I have something else going. For the Carolina Panthers, I think that Cam Newton is a Charger. Okay, he's your Dodge Charger, but you need to put gasoline in your Charger. And this might sound like a little bit of a reach, but I think it's a very good fit for that team, despite his drop issue. I think that you can kind of teach the guy to catch passes a little better, and I think with a quarterback like Cam Newton, you're not going to have those issues because he's feeding it into the breadbasket. I have the Carolina Panthers selecting Allen Robinson, wide receiver from Penn State. Big, athletic, fast, and he can catch.
That's not a reach. I mean, he's going to go within the first 6 picks of the second round if he doesn't go in the first. So
I have him as my BPA wide receiver at this point because I have a wide receiver in the draft.
That is a team in desperate need of receiver.
They could take Odell Beckham. They could take Marquise Lee. They could take Brandon Cooks. They could take any of those guys, but I think the only guy available for him at this point would be to take Allen Robinson in a little bit of a reach and hope that you can pick up another guy to fill position needs later in the draft because it's a deep draft. You're talking about having guys plentiful into the 5th or 6th round. Guys who were the 5th or 6th rounds of last year's draft are free agents in this draft.
Baggage, Publix.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that. with my next pick, I have the New England Patriots drafting Marquise Lee, wide receiver, University of Southern California.
I just don't think that he falls that far. I think that he's one of the more desirable wide receivers right now. But if they could get him, by all means get him, because they desperately need wide receivers.
Like I said before, tripping over their dicks to get up to the podium.
They lost Wes Welker. They lost Edelman. Who they got? Dobson and the other guy.
Yeah, they've got Dobson.
It starts with like an H.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm drawing blank.
yeah.
I have the
Aaron Hernandez.
The New England Patriots taking over for Vince Wilfork. Rashid Hegeman, defensive tackle from Minnesota. He's a raw, talented guy, classic boomer bust. He could be great, he could be nothing.
And at that point, at the end of the first round, you can afford to take a risk on a guy.
And Wilfork's going to retire. You know, he's fucking old as shit. He's fat. He's going to get diabetes tomorrow. He's going to be the new Carl Nicks with his toes falling off and shit.
And Hageman can sit there for 2 or 3 years and learn from what I think is the best space eater in the NFL right now.
You have a defensive guru in Bill Belichick, and you guys also just brought it up, with having a boomer bust type pick. This guy has not come off my board yet in my draft, but you've already had him go. Louis Nix from the Irish.
You can't go wrong with taking a boomer bust guy like Louis Nix, yeah. And I think that replacing Wilfork in the first round is the most important thing for their team right now.
I mean, corner is another thing for them.
They just picked up...
He's a 1-year rental. Darrelle Revis.
And I have a really big problem with Darrelle Revis because I think that after the ACL injury, he still gets credit for the things he's done and not what he can do. And I think that he never fully recovered from that, and he's maybe a third of the player that he was before. The problem is that you're telling me that you're taking the number one cover corner of a previous year and putting him as a 3 or 4 cornerback in your system, and he can't cover a 3 or 4 wide receiver in a zone. The number one man defense corner should be able to work a 3 or 4 zone, no problem. And I don't see him doing that. I think that was a really big waste of money on the Patriots' part. So, with the 30th pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers still. And I have them filling a need that I think that could really take that team over the top, is working on that defensive backfield, shutting down guys in their division that are doing really well. And I have them taking Marcus Roberson, cornerback from Florida. Fearless, confident, and good instincts. He's one of those guys that can make those boom impact plays.
Yeah.
I like that guy a lot. I think that he's a really underrated corner in this draft.
He's a thumper.
And he makes good tackles. They're not shitty tackles either. He's not leading with his helmet. He's popping dudes with his shoulder right in the chest and putting them on their asses.
He's got very good instincts.
And Florida still has really good talent. The only reason we're not looking at them is because their records suck.
Yeah.
Man, they're just not even.
They still draft. They still recruit incredibly.
No.
Everybody wants to be a Gator because it's a party school, and you know who you get at party schools? Big, hard-hitting, angry dudes. And this is a big, hard-hitting, angry guy.
Well, I agree with your earlier assessment with the Niners that they need to put somebody in wide receiver and pair them with Crabtree and an aging Bolden. And I'm going with Cody Latimer out of Indiana.
Okay, yeah, that's become a very hot pick right now, is Cody Latimer.
I mean,
it's not bad.
I think he has that deep threat, that you need to pair well with
he's got the speed, he's got the wingspan.
He's one of the BPAs in that position with as many wide receivers are flying
I don't know if he's got it between the ears.
I agree with that. That's why he's not on my board.
That's one of my issues with Cody Latimer.
That's why I didn't have him any higher.
He can run, he can catch. Can he understand the concept of trying to beat an NFL defensive back?
I see him going early second. I think that he's a guy that you could put in as your number 3 or 4 guy.
I can see a team like Jacksonville taking him in the second round.
If Johnny Manziel goes to Jacksonville at 3, I could very well see them taking him in the second round.
I could also see them taking a guy like Jared Abbrederis.
There's a lot of good... This is a very deep draft, but I think that you're really looking for intangible virtues that you could teach guys how to run the systems, and I just don't think that guy might be... I agree with you wholeheartedly that he might not be smart enough to work into those systems. Yeah. So simplify his route and put him in the 4-3 like a Ricky Prohl.
Yeah. And with San Francisco, you have the ability to do that. He's not having to step in to be that savior of the franchise.
Nope.
Okay, so with the 30th pick, the Giants, remember, they traded back with San Francisco to pick up a king's ransom. I have the New York Giants taking Joel Bitonio, offensive lineman from Nevada. Okay, this is a team that's been trying to fix an aging offensive line for a couple of years now with the pick of Pugh last year, and I think they spent a high draft pick on a center the year before that. So, Joel Bitonio, you take one of the fastest offensive linemen. He went to Nevada. He's not very heralded for his abilities, but the guy can play.
Why wouldn't you just stay at 12 and take one of the top 4 guys?
Because of what you would get in return.
Yeah, because that Giants team is getting so old right now that they need to rebuild
quick.
Yeah,
but you can put an
immediate
starter in with one of those top 4 guys.
But you got to look more towards the future. You're trying to replace a safety because of them cutting Will Allen. You're trying to replace a defensive end because of Tuck leaving. Jason Pierre-Paul's got these chronic back injuries now. Linebacker's really shot. Cornerback is shot.
If you can get the picks this draft, it's a good decision. If it's deferred to the next draft, it's a horrible choice.
Well, yeah, no. The picks are all going to be in this draft because San Francisco's got picks to burn. They've got 13 picks, and they've got 6 of them in the top 100. So, you're looking at rebuilding this team before you have to spend a high pick on a quarterback. Because let's face it, Eli's not getting any younger, and now that he's having ankle surgery,
left in him.
I don't even think he's got that much.
He maybe has 5.
Yeah, I don't even. He's not going to see the end of this contract.
3 is the best we're looking at of the years that he's productive. Before he
So here's what you're doing: you're building a team around that next quarterback.
Yeah, and they've already started bringing that up. Like, when is the time to start thinking about his replacement?
It's right now.
I mean, you look at it; he's 11 years in the league.
Now you're racing. I think the big trade things that we're going to see is in the second round. I think that's when everybody's going to move to make trades. I think we're going to have like 7 or 8 trades in the second round and mortgaging picks and going into the second round to pick up an A.J. McCarron or an Aaron Murray or a Zach Mettenberger or a Derek Carr could fall that far. There's Jimmy Garoppolo. You have a lot of guys in that second round that are available that could be very good quarterbacks. You just got to sit them for a little while. And there's no better guy to sitting behind than a Manning.
See, here's the thing. Father Time is undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's time that this Giants team... It's time that this Giants team just kind of starts building around the next guy that way, so they're not spending 5 years trying to build a team around the next quarterback like they did with Eli Manning, and they lost 5 years of competition.
AKA, we don't want to go through the years between Phil Simms and Kerry Collins.
Yeah, so now they're looking at building this team and being able to place a quarterback inside of it rather than grabbing your quarterback and then building your team around that. Because think about it this way. If the Giants had a couple of receivers, do you think they would have won a championship before 2009 with Eli Manning?
Well, we did. We won in 07.
Okay,
But you're saying before...
Yeah, within those first 4 years, you think they would have won a Super Bowl?
If we didn't have who we had?
I think the defense took him to the house, and Eli pulled that out in the big game.
I mean, the defense helped, and then you had Plaxico Burress, which is,
former Steeler.
Yeah, I mean, he's a quarterback's dream. You throw it up, and he was getting it. And then you had still a serviceable, but, still a good Amani Toomer in the first run. And
Look at what Plaxico Burress did the year before.
Yeah.
For the Steelers.
Absolutely.
There's
no doubt in my mind that if he doesn't shoot his goddamn fucking leg off,
you might be staring at a better record than the Steelers with Super Bowls.
I don't know, because that would only give us 5, and you guys have 6. But I still, we have 4 because we won 86, 90.
But if Plaxico Burress is healthy for the 2 or 3 years that he's irrelevant because he shot his leg, you're talking about having a very good wide receiver with no ligament damage in his legs.
And they were 11-1 when he shot himself, and we still made it to the playoffs, and we still did decent, but we lost to the Eagles. But he was always an Eagle killer, at least while he was on the Giants.
Yeah, so he was an Eagle killer when he was on the Steelers too.
Yeah, so I think that we make it past the Eagles, and then we would have had the Arizona Cardinals coming to Giant Stadium in the middle of freaking January.
There is no better time for them to be rebuilding than right now anyway. Because the Redskins are fucked.
Yeah.
The
Cowboys are fucked.
The Cowboys are fucked, and the Eagles are the Eagles. They're doing that whole Chip Kelly fucking weirdo sign with the 4 pictures on the sideline.
That's only going to last another year or two.
Oh, you saw towards the end of the season last year that people were starting to figure it out. Not every team, because Foles had some pretty good
Just like the
performances,
Wildcat.
but the teams that did figure it out figured it the fuck
Once
out.
LaShawn McCoy loses a step, that team is screwed. Nick Foles is not the quarterback of the future there. I think, you know what, I want to make it a little
Nick
edit.
Foles is suffering from Chad Pennington syndrome.
Yes.
I think that Philadelphia is going to trade their first-round pick, and they're going to pick up a very high pick next year that they can parlay into Marcus Mariota.
I would not doubt that.
I think that's a really good decision there. I think that they're really looking for that quarterback anyway, and Nick Foles is the service until then. Because he's not bad. He's a good quarterback. He's just not... He's a backup. He's not a starter.
Do the defensive ends have
sharp
talons? So, where are we at?
31.
31 Broncos, and I believe that's me. Mm-hmm. I think the one glaring thing that totally destroyed the Broncos in the Super Bowl was offensive line,
I agree.
and I have them picking Morgan Moses out of Virginia.
Okay, offensive tackle from Virginia.
Protect
Large
Peyton-
body, long arms, can play both tackle slots. Very good guy. He's actually my next pick. But I think that that's a very good, smart decision because it never goes wrong with protecting Peyton Manning. And you still have wide receivers there. You still got 3 guys who can go out there and perform. Okay? You have running back in rotation, and you've got a defense that's still firing. So you have a chance at, as long as Peyton Manning's healthy, as long as he's still Peyton Manning, you have a chance at walking right back into the Super Bowl and winning it.
And Sanders can be as good as Decker was in that offense.
Yeah, and you
He
still
can be
have the
better.
tight end of Thomas.
He's going to be better.
I know, but he can be at least what Decker produced.
Well, this is the thing: is that if you're looking at it from like a fantasy standpoint, then you're really taking a reach if you're taking a Denver Bronco wide receiver in your first pick.
Yeah.
Okay, the ball's going to be spread around, but having Denarius Thomas, having Wes Welker, having Emmanuel Sanders, having Julian Thomas, you're having the ability to go out there and throw the ball to everybody. So you lost a guy, but you probably gained a different kind of guy. Because you look at Denarius Thomas and you look at Eric Decker, and they serve a very similar functional role. Of course, Denarius is better at it, okay, but Eric Decker's not bad. So what do you need? You need a good slot receiver, a quick guy who can make quick cuts, give you that option pass. Emmanuel Sanders fits in that function perfectly. So you've already filled that role. Now you're going to go out there and you're going to put better protection on Peyton so he's not making that triple step. There's no better way to do that than if somebody gets injured, because you don't have to plug him in right now, but you can plug him in as either one of the tackles. Offensive line depth.
Okay. My pick for Denver, because of what they lost in this offseason, as opposed to what they've gained, they lost Wesley Woodyard.
Yeah.
I have them taking an interior linebacker. Ryan Shazier from Ohio State. All right.
A lot of people had him going in the first round.
I think he's the best linebacker in this draft. I think he's better than C.J. Mosley, and I think he's a guy that you can build a defense around.
Then why do you have him go so late?
Just based on need. You know, the league believes that, you know, unless it's a guy that just screams, I'm a superstar, you know, like the way that Derek Johnson did, the way that Patrick Willis did, the way that,
like
Boston College, Kuechly,
Kuechly,
the way that Luke Kuechly did, I think they believe that linebackers are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
And Ryan Shazier is the perfect fit for that 3-4 defense there in Denver. He's very athletic. He can cover. He can rush the passer if you need him to. He's that kind of a guy that, you know what, you can't go wrong by taking him. And to get him at number 31 is ridiculous.
I think that he's a good pick. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that train of thought. I just think that you're going on a different... I think that the Denver Broncos always think Peyton Manning is the most important thing until he's gone. Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler! Hey, Peyton, we're winning by 40 points. Can I play? No! You go sit on the bench, Brock! You son of a bitch! Go get my tea! Put extra sugar in it, because I like it.
Monty.
They didn't even let him come in and do kneel downs.
No, and that's an indictment on Peyton Manning right there.
Because he's a dick. He's a dick to his wide receivers. When he was going through the training camp where Johnny Manziel flunked out because he showed up drunk, okay? He didn't even know his wide receivers' names. He'd been on the fucking team for a year.
Yeah. Hey, you, white guy. Demarius.
Black guy that I throw the ball to.
Eric.
No, that's high yellow guy.
Julius.
We're throwing Julius. No, I'm thinking of
Orange Julius.
Monty Ball, get me a Diet Coke, please.
All right, we're running up against it. Where are we at now?
32 Seahawks.
32? I have the Seattle Seahawks taking Rashid
I didn't get to make my
Oh,
pick.
you didn't?
No,
I didn't.
Rewind.
31, Denver Broncos, Xavier Su'a-Filo for the exact same reason you took Moses.
Okay.
But I just have him being rated a little higher than Moses. He's a dual position tackle. He's a guy that can go out there and make really big differences. I think for the exact same reason you take Moses, you take him.
Okay. All right, with the 32nd pick, the last pick of the first round, I've got the Seattle Seahawks taking Rashid Hageman, defensive end / defensive tackle from Minnesota. He's a very versatile player, and if you look at Seattle, what have they done? Jared Allen, you look at son of a bitch, Michael Bennett.
Yeah.
They've got a constant rotation of defensive linemen in there, so that you never know which fresh one's attacking at you. And you only have Jared Allen for 2 years tops. Why not get the guy that could potentially replace him? Because eventually Michael Bennett's going to become too expensive for you. And along with the rest of the defensive linemen that
Did
they
they
have.
lose Red Bryant?
Red Bryant, yes, they did. Red Bryant went to Jacksonville, and we took the Bucks took Clinton McDonald.
Oh, okay.
So they do need some help at defensive tackle.
I have Seattle Seahawks protecting the Lollipop Guild and using Morgan Moses because he can play both tackle slots. He's got a large body, long arms, and he can open up holes for our guy Marshawn Lynch. He can also protect our quarterback, Russell Wilson. He's serving very functional things, and you're trying to go out there and at least make to the championships next year, if not win another one in the next 2 or 3 years. You're going and picking up an alignment that can protect Lollipop Guild because there's only so many times he can get popped before he starts breaking.
And we all saw what happened when they had a couple of offensive lineman injuries, which is why I somewhat agree with your pick. Breno Giacomini, not a very good left guard.
No, not at all.
And to replace him with a Morgan Moses, absolutely.
I was also thinking offensive line, but ultimately I thought a better option would be someone for the quarterback to dump off to, and the new thing is for a nice little tight end, dump it off over there. Jason Morrow from Texas Tech.
It's a very good pick. Jason Morrow is
pick.
one of the hidden gems in this draft.
Who's Seattle's tight end?
Zach Miller.
You said two different names.
No, he
you
said Zach Miller. I said I couldn't tell you because I couldn't think of his name, and I know they were going after.
I just know it was Zach Miller because he's a fucking 6'8" white guy.
Yeah.
He must have thought it was White Boy Day because it wasn't working. Because you don't remember him from anything spectacular.
No.
So why not go out there and get the tight end that you can make for service? That's a great pick.
It is, and that I think that was a pretty goddamn good first mock draft for the show, right?
Very good indeed.
I think we'll make this a yearly thing.
Absolutely.
It has to be a yearly thing, yeah. I mean, between the three of us, I think we have a pretty good wealth of knowledge in the NFL. You're coming from three completely different standpoints. You're going out there and you're saying, okay, we've got super analytical, take risks in trades and make the weird things happen with Cameron. You've got the let's think about it logically and take the most logical routes with Darren. And with me, you're going for what the fuck do you need and what is going to be most functional in your system from me. So I think you're getting three really diverse and good opinions there.
But what I want to do real quick before we sign off for this, I want to really just test y'all's knowledge, okay? We got 5 guys here. 5 guys that aren't projected to be first rounders. And I want you to tell me where you think they're going to go and in what round, all right? I'm going to fire off the first name at you. Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback, Eastern Illinois University.
I got this. Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo is the next Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I think that's the guy that they're looking at. I think that's the whole reason why they don't take a quarterback in the first round, because you can take a Derek Carr, you could possibly take a John Manziel, you could take a Teddy Bridgewater, but Jimmy Garoppolo right now has the intelligence, the arm, and the ability to sit behind a 2-year quarterback to work in a functioning
Now
system.
tell me how good it sounded on Gruden's quarterback camp. We watched it earlier today with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's like, and now at quarterback number 10 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jimmy Garoppolo. Gruden went through the entire thing, and I'm just like, that sounds really good.
And you're putting him up with Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans, and you're reformatting your line over the next 2 years, and you're tooling your defense down under Lovie Smith for the next 2 years. And by the time that Josh McCown steps down and gives the reins over to Jimmy Garoppolo, he will be ready and he'll be able to go. I think that's the new Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
I agree with
What round?
Second.
I agree with pretty much everything you said, only the team is different. I think he's going to go to the Raiders, so he won't even be there for the Buccaneers in the second round.
Okay. Me personally, I have Jimmy Garoppolo going in the second round to Jacksonville. I think with re-signing Chad Henne the way that they did this season, it provides a stopgap. It's not a complete situation fixer where you can sit on him for 2 years, but Jimmy Garoppolo can fly under the radar for a season over there in Jacksonville, let Chad Henne do his work, and let them get a high pick next year, get a top-notch wide receiver next year, and Jimmy Garoppolo opens up in 2015 as the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'd say the exact same thing for the Buccaneers, but I think if you let Jeff Tedford sit in front of that guy and talk to him for a little while, I think that the Buccaneers make some moves and go and get him.
No. Tedford.
You don't do it in the first round, but you do it in the second.
All right. Second name on the list, Bishop Sankey. He's a running back from Washington. He's the collegiate rushing leader for the school.
He could be a great running back option in a timeshare. So you don't give him 25 touches, but you give him like 10. And you give it to him on like third down, or you give it to him on fourth down conversions. You give it to him in an ability to convert. And I think that you're looking at a very functional, very good running back in the new age. I think that he's a second to third round pick. I think that if you're looking for a running back and you need him, you take him in the second, early third. If you don't need a running back and you're able to get him in a late third round pick, that's when you take him.
I would say third or fourth round, and I think a great team for him would be the Vikings. Have him paired off with Adrian Peterson, maybe reduce Peterson's touches a little bit.
You don't do that.
Him a little bit.
You don't do that. You cannot reduce Adrian Peterson's touches. It'll be mutiny. That's the only thing you got going.
But at some point, he can't keep getting banged up and then maybe make it.
No,
to
he
the next
can't. But
time.
that's the same theory applied to Toby Gerhart. Toby Gerhart was just waiting for him to go away, and he never did.
Yeah.
And he came back from the ACL injury like a freak, and he's still a functional running back. So, are you going to put this guy behind Adrian Peterson?
Yeah, but that
and
was
have
4
him
years
waste
ago
away?
when they drafted Gerhardt. Now it's 4 years later.
And he's still running wild.
I know.
It's funny that you guys bring up the name Toby Gerhart. And I don't want to make this a pattern with this, but I think Bishop Sankey's a third rounder, and I think he goes to Jacksonville. It's a team where it's not exactly
pattern, by the way.
boom or bust.
Are you a closet Jaguars fan?
I am not a closet Jaguar.
You have a jag rag?
I don't have Jagrag. However, it makes sense because they have Gerhart as the number one right now. He's not a number one in this league. So they're going to draft a running back. And I think if they're sitting there with a top 5 pick in the third round and Bishop Sankey's still sitting there on the board, or Carlos Hyde for that matter from Ohio State, I think they take one of the two of them. Because you have them for 4 years. That's the average shelf life of a running back in the NFL right now. And Bishop Sankey comes in, and they just feed him the rock. They're going to abuse him the way that they abused Maurice Jones-Drew.
But he has the ability of flourishing in a system like that. And if you've got the right quarterback, and if you've got a wide receiver to use, that's not a bad pick.
Yeah.
If everything falls in your direction.
Yeah. All right, number 3 name on the list. This is a guy. He's a guy that you want to root for because of where he's come from, where he's gone, and where he's going to be. Pierre Desir. He's a cornerback from Lindenwood College. It's Division III
In Missouri. I actually grew up not far from there.
And what ended up happening, this guy was the best junior college football player, and he got an invite to the East-West Shrine game down here in St. Pete. He then played so well in the East-West Shrine game, he got an invite to the Senior Bowl in Alabama. And that's where he put his name on the map. Pierre Desir from Lindenwood College, cornerback. Where do you think he's going to go?
He has comparable speed. It's not fast. It's not slow. He's talented in his position. My biggest concern with Pierre is his ability able to translate in the next level, because the level that he was playing at is not the level that his peers have been playing at. And so you can be amazing at a lesser level. So I don't see him going to like 6 or even as late as 7.
I was going to say 6 or 7, and if you put him on a team that's already got a well-established secondary and he can kind of sit back and learn, would probably be the best for him.
I have Pierre Desir as a 4th-round pick.
Wow.
I think that's a hell of a reach.
I have him going to San Francisco at the bottom of the 4th round. They need corner help. Carlos Rogers isn't getting any younger. And obviously the experiment with Nnamdi Asomugha didn't work out last year. So they need all the help they can get. They have this expendable pick in the 4th round, something that they picked up. Again, they're a team that doesn't need
I have
just
San
one
Francisco
thing.
burning
They're
that pick a
going
lot
for
earlier.
depth. And, yeah, Pierre Desir to the 49ers in the 4th round.
I have the 49ers burning that need way earlier, and I think that's something they desperately need to address to be a continued title contender. And I think that a 4th-round pick for that guy is a big reach. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think that he's a guy who can't translate. I think that he's a huge risk-reward, huge boomer bust, and that you can't invest a 4 on him. You have to wait until at least late 5, early 6 if you're going to reach on him. Because a reach is anywhere above halfway through the 6th round.
Okay. Name number 4 on this list. If it wasn't for an injury, he'd be considered up there with the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft. Aaron Murray from the University of Georgia. He's the SEC all-time passing leader. He took that title from Matt Stafford, by the way, in a new SEC that is all about defense and pro-style offense. Where do y'all think that Aaron Murray's going to end up?
It's funny you say Matt Stafford, because I think the Lions pick him
Okay.
as a kind of like a backup and give him a year or two, and to see if Stafford can finally get things right or move on from him.
Cut bait with Stafford and move on to Aaron Murray.
Has doesn't have to be thrown in right away, kind of like Stafford was.
Okay.
I think that if I'm a team and I'm looking at Aaron Murray, I'm thinking about Sam Bradford, and I'm thinking about what's going to happen if I take this guy. Okay? His talent is there. Smart guy. Seems like he's doing really well off of injury. Seems like he's a really smart kid. Seems like he can do all the things that I need him to do. And if he wasn't injured, he's in my top 10. Okay? But with this guy coming off of the injury that he was having before and having these weird situations in his recovery that he's having, where it seems like he's freakishly recovering as well, but I think that has a lot to do with the brace. I think that if he's sitting there at late 3rd, early 4th, you take him without question. Any earlier than that, you're making a big risk.
What team?
If I'm a guy who needs a quarterback and I'm thinking about that, if I don't get somebody earlier, then the St. Louis Rams should really think about repeating the process and going and picking up Aaron Murray to sit behind Sam Bradford, have a chance to learn. You know the problem you're dealing with. You have a history of dealing with these problems before, but you're getting a guy who has the possibility to sit back and heal his injury, learn the playbook, and can come through and be dynamic. I think Aaron Murray could be the Sam Bradford they hoped they would have.
Well, they do pick up an extra 3rd rounder if my trade goes through.
It's possible. I think that's a really good fit for him, especially if they pick up a wideout, like you were saying.
See, I would, with a guy like Aaron Murray, he's a guy that you can afford to sit on for 2 or 3 years, 4 years even. Let him learn the offense and let him take over for an established quarterback right now. I have Aaron Murray going in the bottom of the 3rd round. I have him going to New Orleans. I have him sitting behind Drew Brees the way that Chase Daniel did. Chase Daniel all of a sudden became a number 2 quarterback in Kansas City from sitting behind Drew Brees. No. They have a similar stature.
Can you Aaron Rodgers him, though? Can you Aaron Rodgers him for 3 or 4 years?
You can. You can afford to Aaron Rodgers him if you're New Orleans, because Drew Brees is going to suddenly become way too expensive for the position. And
I think he makes a deal to stay in New Orleans. I just don't think that they want him to stay past 4 more years.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a really good feeling about Sean Payton working with him. Him and Breeze are similar in stature.
Good old midget cheater.
Yeah. They're similar in stature. They're similar in work ethic. They're similar in throwing. They're
similar in barbers.
They're coming off of incredibly career-threatening injuries, both of them, when they get to that team. I think Aaron Murray to the New Orleans Saints is pretty good. And
Drew Brees could be a great mentor for that guy.
Yeah.
But I think that when you bring that guy in, you're telling Drew Brees he's got a time clock. And I don't think you do that to Drew Brees. No matter what you're paying him, you're just like, okay, you get your backup in his twilight. You don't pick him right now and just be like, hey, Drew Brees, guess what? You're the new Brett Favre.
See, I want to say that Drew Brees knows what his longevity in the NFL is.
You would like to think that, but you don't know that.
His sack totals have gone up over the last 3 years.
Getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna be that guy that will walk away before his skills diminish. He will not be Brett Favre. He will ride off into the sunset, and he won't try to come back, and he won't come back as a shell of a quarterback.
If you're going to get a guy to sit behind Drew Brees, I like a Zach Mettenberger or an A.J. McCarron.
Mettenberger would be great because of the LSU connections.
Yeah. I don't just say that because I think of it as the play style and the thought processes. That's why I say Zach Mettenberger or A.J. McCarron, because Drew Brees doesn't necessarily have the gun-throwing system. He's a smart guy who thinks outside the box and makes really good plays based on what his options are. And I think if you're going to create a guy and mold him in that image, you don't get a gunslinger like Aaron Murray. You get a smart guy like A.J. McCarron or Zach Mettenberger.
You know what would be the perfect team for Mettenberger?
Who?
The Steelers. Roethlisberger and Mettenberger.
Then they're just the hamburgers.
There you go.
The damn equipment manager already knows that they need an alphabet soup for the last
You
name.
imagine how much money they spend on letter decals?
All right, and we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna just jump us to the last name on the list. This is very controversial. I mean, to an extent, it was a big deal. Michael Sam. Where's Michael Sam gonna go?
I look at it this way. I like Missouri. I think they're a good team, and I like Michael Sam. I think it's brave to come out and in today's NFL and say, I'm a gay athlete. I'm a gay athlete before I ever come out.
I'm going to isolate that audio, and I'm going to set that as Matt's ringtone on my phone. I'm a gay athlete.
If you did work, I'd believe it, but this won't be out before the fucking draft happens, so. That's just it, is that I think that as a gay athlete, Michael Sam comes out, and he says that I'm putting myself out there, I'm ready to go to NFL, but my biggest problem with that is that I'm not entirely sure that wasn't a ploy to raise his draft status. You want to get that nice, desirable guy out there. You're going to kick that pick, that controversial pick, get some good press going your team's way, make pretty good options, decisions. You know what? We don't give a shit about his sexual orientation. We just care about the player. But as a player, I never rated him above 5.
No.
So I think he goes 5th or 6th, and I think he goes to a team like Baltimore. Put him with a guy like Terrell Suggs. Teach him how to do that. The sexual orientation really means nothing, okay, in the grand scheme of things. If he's a good ball player, he'll be good at his position, and it's not just doggy style.
I was waiting for it. All right, well, I think there's a perfect situation for him, and that would be with the Patriots. Sticking with Bill Belichick.
If anybody can handle the media circus, it is the New England Patriots.
Yes.
I mean, you've had guys like Corey Dillon, Randy Moss,
Tim Tebow, Hernandez, Gronk.
They handled the Hernandez situation better than I've ever seen any professional organization handle a player with a disruption like that.
He just doesn't exist to us.
Yeah.
He just cut him.
It's amazing.
As soon as he got arrested, he's cut. He's not a Patriot anymore, so don't talk to us about it.
Yeah, and they don't even bring him up or nothing. But, you know, I think they have that track record of not allowing that off-the-field stuff to really bother them. And if he thinks that he's a value pick and probably is going to be like 5th or 6th, I think that they would have no problem with that.
Belichick handles Gronk.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. He can handle anything.
Yes, he's a tight end who catches a lot of balls.
Hey, Bill! Bill!
Oh, Tyler, I love you.
Bill, I'm going out drinking. I'm going to sleep with some porn stars tonight. I'm going to put pictures on Twitter. Please don't.
Too late. Did it anyway.
My pick for Michael Sam, well, you know what? I'm going to give you 2 options for Michael Sam. Number 1's going to be my karmic pick, And then
Miami Dolphins.
no. My karmic pick for Michael Sam would be to the New Orleans Saints in the 5th round, just so Jonathan Vilma has to wonder if he's staring at his junk the entire time.
He's really uncomfortable with it too.
But if you really want to know where he's going to go, I'd say top of the 6th round to the Atlanta Falcons.
The Arizona Falcons.
The Arizona Falcons. Hey, you know what? Birds.
Yep. Same.
But, I just think with the team trying to build a 3-4 defense right now, they need all the depth they can get. And with Michael Sam's versatility to play multiple positions, I think it's a very smart pickup. And he could end up being like that CFL linebacker that they got last year who, averaged 15 tackles a game, Paul Warlow.
Yeah, but wouldn't being right there in the middle of the Bible Belt?
That's a big problem. That's why I don't have him going to the Steelers.
But SEC.
No. But Mizzou only moved to the SEC last year.
All right. Well, I'm going to do this to you guys, and I didn't tell you I was going to do this because this is Audible Orange Barrel Reroute. Omaha. Darren, what's your sports agenda?
Oh, man, I wasn't even thinking about
Oh, yeah, I know. I got you bad, right?
You fucking
See,
bastard.
I actually had a different closing segment I wasn't even going to tell you guys about, but you know what? We'll let Darren compose an agenda real quick. Let me just ask this, okay?
Okay.
Who's your favorite NFL draft analyst? Go, Matt.
I like, you know what, man? I got to say that he is sitting there on the NFL Network, and he's so tired. He's so tired. And he makes his feelings out there, and he's just so dry. And he's just so... I mean, you could probably tell me who I'm talking about right now.
Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen is a guy who's rich in NFL knowledge. He's a guy who makes really smart comments. He makes dry humor. And you know what, man? I like Rich Eisen.
Sub 540.
Rich Eisen because he's a guy who's out there who does his job. And there's nobody better than a guy who's just punching the clock. You punch the clock, do your job well, and go the fuck home. Because guys like Mel Kiper and guys like fucking Boomer are fucking jokes. I mean, they're guys who think that they're way more important than they are, and Rich Eisen knows exactly what he is. He's just a dude who talks about football. I love me some Rich Eisen.
Darren, who's your favorite NFL draft analyst?
I'm kind of partial to McShay lately.
Okay.
I think he's...
Because he has to deal with Mel Kiper all the time?
Yeah, he's
Todd.
And, he's not as, out there as Kuiper is, but, he's slowly been giving more responsibility, like the last 5 years. It's like, for the longest time, it was just Kuiper. And then there was
Kuiper. Terrible analysis until they had to put a fucking handcuff on him.
Yeah.
And he was, 30-40% with his picks most of the time.
At the best.
And, slowly but surely, you're seeing more and more of McShay, and I think eventually it's just going to be McShay.
It's just going to be snapshots of Mel Kiper's hair and then Todd McShay talking.
Superimpose it on Todd McShay's head.
Nice.
Now, if I had to pick one, I would say Mike Mayock.
I love Mike
Mayock. Nobody will break down a player's attributes better than Mike Mayock. So, Matt, take us out.
You know what, man? I dropped the bomb on us that I did the sports agenda, but I'm going to do the sports agenda right now. When you're doing your fantasy drafts and when you're talking about football and you're making these really intelligent spots and you're talking about these different things that you're going to do and all these, don't overanalyze. That's like the worst thing that you can do is go into like really deep in the draft and pull some name out of your ass and make some stupid fucking decision. You can just Mel Kiper your whole season or something like that. Don't do that. That's stupid. Just sit back, give yourself adequate time to assess information, trust your gut, do the right moves, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to overthink and overanalyze things like we're seeing on ESPN and NFL.com right now. And if you don't agree with me, I got 2 words for you. Suck it!